Hello there.
Hey, we're back in the movie studio, this time to talk about the newest Star Wars property. Well, slightly newest. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show has been done for about a month. I figure that's enough time for the fanboys to stop soying out over it and start soying out over Star Wars Andor instead. These shows seem to have a particular life cycle. When the name is quietly printed at one of those corporate meetings, fans begin to rapidly speculate.
So let's get to the speculation. I reached out on the community tab asking the official plot synopsis.
Once the trailer drops, everyone uploads their reaction video where they're screaming and crying and clapping and talking about how they've done it again. Oh my god, it's a cultural phenomenon. Then, as the movie or the show or whatever actually premieres, everyone gets into a competition on social media to see who can give Disney the deepest, most full-throated blowy they can. And then, a month later, everyone finally comes to their senses and realizes, yeah, that was kind of shit, wasn't it? I've got a lot to say about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, so it goes without saying that I'm going to spoil pretty much everything. Therefore, if for some ungodly reason you plan to watch this series yourself, you may want to step away from this video. Also, I'm very aware that multiple channels have already gone over the show in depth, including Red Letter Media, EFAP, and It's a Gundam, and I'll try not to say the same things that they do, but you know how this reviewing stuff goes sometimes. Don't worry though, at the very least, I won't be autistically analyzing the different eras of Darth Vader's suit to find inconsistencies in the costume. Geez, Gundam, that was a bit too much even for me. Though Vader does look like a cosplayer this time around. Additionally, even though this video is an in-depth review of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, it's also a wider discussion of Star Wars as a whole, including at the end a political discussion. If you're not here for that, that's fine with me. The Kenobi review ends and the meta conversation begins at about the halfway mark. But enough goofing around, let's get this show on the road. The first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi begins with a supercut of the original trilogy, and I gotta say, they cut the shit out of these movies. Just to let you really young Zoomers know, the internet did actually exist 20 years ago when the prequel trilogy came out, and forum posts and later YouTube videos of the day considered these three movies to be dog shit.
That's all it takes for Cypher to give up his whole life in service of some evil mastermind. Honestly, is Cypher the most easily manipulated little worm on the planet or what? Who's going to believe that a hero, young and reckless though he may be, is simply going to abandon his entire life and his career in a prestigious, respected order of warrior knights just because some evil wizard challenges his feelings of powerlessness and impotence and offers him the chance at power and respect he feels he's been denied?
You're not all powerful.
Well, I should be. I will be the most powerful Jedi ever.
But at the very least, people are nostalgic for them despite, or perhaps because, of their flaws. I think that's why the meme of shitting on the prequels versus the sequels caught on for a while. People know the prequels are bad, but they love them anyway. They can take a joke. Anyway, despite these being three shitty movies, this supercut makes them look amazing. The music's great, they show Anakin's life and his relationship with Obi-Wan. It's just mwah. It was watching this when I realized that I think I love the idea of Star Wars more than the execution of Star Wars at this point. There's this rich universe full of lore and characters and organizations and conflicts and all this history, and then we get shit like this.
I'll try spinning, that's a good trick.
The first actual scene of the Obi-Wan show has some Jedi younglings practicing Tai Chi or something. It looks all nice and serene, and then suddenly, Order 66 happens, and the shaky cam begins. Watch it, this is laughable. It looks like the cameraman was pulling back and then tripped over an apple box or something. We get to witness Jedi fighting clone troopers during that historic moment, setting up Reva in the process. Yes, I am pretty sure that everybody and their mother knew that this was Reva on their first viewing. It's not exactly hard to figure out what they're doing here. There's no reason to remake the Order 66 scene when you've already flashed back to the original footage, unless you're going to add some new information. We cut to the present day, which is 10 years later, approximately halfway between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. The setting is Tatooine. Specifically, a reuse of the Tatooine set from The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. Hey, if you've got it, why not? The Inquisitors have come to town, an elite group of Force sensitives that hunt Jedi on behalf of the Empire. Oh, come on, dude, why'd you have to park in the middle of the road? We got a spaceport, you know. The Grand Inquisitor, along with Umbrella Hat Man, are both characters from Star Wars Rebels, with established personalities and story arcs. Fun fact, the Grand Inquisitor in that show was played by Jason Isaacs, the guy who did both Draco's dad in Harry Potter and Captain Lorca in Star Trek Discovery, the only legitimately interesting thing about that show's first season. Upon learning that his character was heading towards the live-action screen, Jason Isaacs expressed interest in playing him there too, but alas, we got this guy instead. I'm sorry, I don't know him from anything. But his filmography isn't nearly as extensive or high profile, and I am wondering if it was a budget issue, considering Kenobi feels kinda cheap all around. It turns out that Kenobi only had a $90 million budget. That's actually not that much in comparison to the $100 million for a season of The Mandalorian or Boba Fett, or the $150 million that Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, or the non-Disney offerings of Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Strange New Worlds all commanded. I think that's why, despite the aesthetically impressive offerings of the slum planet of Daiyu and the underwater Fortress Inquisitorius, overall the Kenobi show feels rather drab. The other locations are the beige rocks of Tatooine, the red rocks of Jabim, the brown rocks of the nameless planet that only exists to duel on, and the black rocks of a quarry in California. Multiple ships use the same cockpit set, just recolored, in an attempt to make it look like it's a new place. A lack of money is the only explanation I can think of as to why the show can make some things look so good and other things look so cheap.
The thing that we really aspire to constantly is quality.
Maybe they couldn't afford to take on another big name beyond Ewan McGregor. And it sucks too, because Jason Isaacs is great. And more importantly, he's got the correct shaped head. No, really. The Grand Inquisitor is supposed to be a member of the Pauan race. Yeah, these guys from episode 3. With the long skinny bald heads. These effects were made with a combination of prosthetics with a little bit of CG to add a few extra touches. But I guess they just didn't have the budget for all that in Kenobi. It would have looked a little bit better on Isaacs though. They're also missing the full suite of cranial ridges. No, I'm not gonna go full Autos like Gundam did. This scene serves to set up the Inquisitors, what they do, the Jedi in their current situation, and the conflict between Reva and the Grand Inquisitor. But it does it just so poorly. Why is the dialogue so stilted?
We should be hunting bigger prey.
He is not yours to find. We are past this, third sister. I will not warn you again. You will forget this fixation with Kenobi, or I will relieve you of your duties. Is that clear?
Why do you just grimace menacingly at the Jedi and not stop him? Why does a fallen tarp stop the chase? Literally just go the fuck around it? The catching up with Obi-Wan stuff is done pretty well. There's a lot of good character moments here, and they do a good job of showing, not telling. The drudgery of Obi-Wan's daily job, butchering a rotting sand whale, especially compared to the prestige of his previous life. How he appears powerless and oppressed whenever injustice happens. How he isolates himself in a cave and has flashbacks to the prequel trilogy's events in his dreams, even events he wasn't even present for. I guess we didn't need that pre-show recap after all. During those lonely nights, Obi-Wan spends time with his anteater face. Don't look that one up. But in all seriousness, this is a depressed Obi-Wan, and we spend like half the episode setting it up. This is legitimately good stuff, even if the writing is kinda shitty.
You have no idea what I've been through.
I might have an idea, dude. We also set up the conflict between Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen, something that is only lightly touched on in A New Hope.
What if he's related to Ben? That wizard's just a crazy old man.
This is a natural plotline, though, that Obi-Wan would be buzzing around like a weird stalker, while Owen just wants to get on with his life and bury the past. It's pretty easy to feel for both of these characters. Owen truly does want what's best for Luke. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan's clearly having PTSD just looking at the kid. Nonetheless, these two are truly quite stupid characters. They have private conversations about Obi-Wan being a Jedi, Luke being a Jedi, etc. in the open fucking street.
We talked about this. When the time comes, he must be trained.
Like you trained his father?
Like, can you guys take this shit inside, maybe? Ride Obi-Wan's farting anteater back home?
If you remember anything, rewards will be given.
Seriously, this guy says rewards will be given, and you're just gonna drop a thank you in the crowd?
Thank you, Owen.
You think these people won't sell you out for money? The show then cuts to Princess Leia Organa, future leader of a very well-known asteroid belt. They do a lot of work setting her up too, with Bail Organa returning from episode 3. Her life as a princess, there's a bunch of noble family stuff in there. But it's clear she wants no part of it, opting to spend her time running away from the palace to hang out in the woods with her droid Lola. Which, by the way, was an idea originally from the prequels. A vision of Padme having a hovering personal droid companion was something that didn't make it out of the concept stage. Also, at one point she had a falcon too. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Falcon or Leia. At this point, I will ask the obvious question. If you're gonna do an Obi-Wan story, and it's not just gonna be about his shitty life in the desert, what do you do? Do you have him butt heads with Uncle Owen? I mean, of course, that's a natural extension of already established stories. But what else? You can't make him go have a huge adventure with Luke. A New Hope firmly establishes that Luke knows of Obi-Wan as Ben Kenobi, but they're not friends or acquaintances.
Well, I don't know anyone named Obi-Wan, but old Ben lives out beyond the Dune Sea. He's kind of a strange old hermit.
So what do? You include a Leia storyline instead, I guess. And you know what? If you skim over A New Hope, you'll realize that Leia and Obi-Wan don't actually share any scenes together. While Obi-Wan is spending his time kickstarting Luke's hero's journey, Leia's on the Death Star. By the time Luke, Han, and Chewie rescue Leia, Obi-Wan's already gone off on his own. So putting them together now is perfect, right? Well, I'm pretty sure that the only thing the people making this show did was skim the old content, because if Leia actually went on this huge epic adventure with Obi-Wan that we see in the show, she'd probably be reacting just like Luke does when he dies. Does this look like a woman who's just lost a close friend and mentor, with whom she bopped around the galaxy a decade earlier during her most formative years? This is the look of somebody who's like, are you fucking kidding me? Did this kid just blow our cover?
Can't believe he's gone.
Yeah, dude, Leia does not give a fuck that Obi-Wan's dead. Anyway, we need to kick off this Obi-Wan and Leia adventure that totally happened somehow, so Leia gets kidnapped. But not before a tense chase scene through Alderaan's woods, and by tense I mean cartoonish. This is the sort of thing that you'd expect to see on a Disney kids series, where the adults are somehow slow and incompetent, and the tiny child keeps managing to get away. In fact, there's like 4 running scenes with Leia, and they all follow this formula. Somehow, grown-ass adults just can't keep up with her. So, Leia's kidnapped, and Bail Organa wants Obi-Wan to come out of hiding at great personal risk to himself, and sort it out. For some reason, he's not going to ask the Empire for help, because remember, at this point in the timeline, Organa is an Imperial senator for a planet under the protection of the Empire. And I know the Empire is evil and all, but it still ultimately values rule of law, and considers abducting an Imperial senator's daughter a grave offense, as the Grand Inquisitor will tell us next episode.
You would kidnap an Imperial senator's child?
Nor does Bail consider sending out his own personal guard. Yeah, those guys in the background with funny hats, that get completely shot up and destroyed in A New Hope and Rogue One. Alderaan has its own security force, he could send those. Hell, if for some reason Organa wanted to keep it a secret, he could call it bounty hunters. That's literally their job in this universe. Hired muscle for when you don't want the authorities finding out. No, he just wants Obi-Wan, and here's why.
Only you know how important she really is, Obi-Wan.
Wait a second, how important is she? I mean, yeah, she's Anakin's daughter and Luke's his son. That's pretty important, but only insofar as Anakin's personal feelings, and maybe some sort of succession or legitimacy thing down the line? Yes, Bail loves his daughter, but they're acting like she's a child of destiny or something.
My duty is to the boy.
What about your duty to his sister? She's as important as he is.
There was that whole stupid prophecy thing that George Lucas invented for the prequels, about Anakin bringing balance to the Force, but his kids aren't named in the prophecy.
You refer to the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force.
Also, in the end, Anakin didn't bring balance to the Force.
You are the chosen one! Bring balance to the Force! Not leave it in darkness!
I know George Lucas later confirmed in an interview that it was Luke who fulfilled the prophecy in Episode 6.
The prophecy is that Anakin will bring balance to the Force and destroy the Sith. He becomes Darth Vader. Darth Vader does become the hero. Darth Vader does destroy the Sith, meaning himself and the Emperor. He does it because he is redeemed by his son.
But even that didn't matter because Luke's school fell apart. And by the end of the sequel trilogy, there's no Jedi or Sith anymore or anything. Is that what balance meant? I guess everyone's equal when they're dead. Anyway, my point is, Leia is important politically as both a senator's daughter and secretly Anakin's daughter. But insofar as Bail Organa knows, that's it. But they're treating her like she's supremely important. And yeah, she is to the future movies, but these guys don't know that. Are they reading the fucking scripts or something? They're even treating her as more important than Luke, who actually does become the hero, and who Obi-Wan is all too happy to abandon his watchover to go on this adventure. Dude, hide your lightsaber, like what the fuck? The blue tunic was actually a good look on you, man. Obi-Wan should have stayed in that the whole adventure. Why would you dig up the old, dirty Jedi robes, and then just hang the lightsaber off them for all to see? Is that what secretly gives a Jedi his powers, the unwashed robes? So, Obi-Wan arrives in the Blade Runner planet of Daiyu. And you know what? They did a pretty good job with the art direction here, all things considered. There's even that nice touch of bringing back Boba Fett's actor to play an aging clone trooper who's now down on his luck. You can see Obi-Wan getting flashbacks as soon as he sees him. I have a feeling that maybe the clone trooper should have recognized Obi-Wan since, Order 66. But still, this is good stuff. We're introduced to HYUK, who's a scam artist. He pretends to be a Jedi using tricks and sleight of hand to fleece people, which again, I don't mind. That's the kind of person you'd find in a scumbucket city like this. He is what passes for this story's comic relief. And like most comedy written by nihilistic millennials, he's only really got one note, being sardonic. And hey, to his credit, it's sometimes funny. But for the most part, he overstays his welcome in every scene he's in. Due to the usual hijinks, HYUK ends up leading Obi-Wan to the drug operation the gangsters who kidnapped Leia are operating out of. Obi-Wan is taken prisoner, he breaks out, he breaks Leia out, Leia doesn't trust him, she runs away, he catches up, Leia doesn't trust him again, she runs away again, this time into a rooftop firefight against a punk rocker from that dinosaur show, and a robot who is more stiff than Hayden Christensen's acting in Attack of the Clones.
I don't like sand.
Maybe we should start calling your friend Padme, because he loves Anakin Skywalker so much.
I'm really skimming over this quickly because every scene is extremely painful and contrived. Awful dialogue, forced chase scenes, completely counterintuitive character moments. It feels like a Disney executive said to the writers, this episode needs a rooftop shootout, a street-level chase scene, a drug lab, and a cargo port, because that's what the analytics say will be good. And then the writing department padded it out with really bad dialogue and scenes of Ewan McGregor playing with children.
What now?
Nothing, you just remind me of someone.
Will I ever see you again?
Maybe.
I have chased after kids who don't believe that I am Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm like, I am Obi-Wan Kenobi!
But it's not only the props and the sets and the algorithms that they're writing around, but also the phenomenon that I mentioned in my Boba Fett video, that I called cool scene-itis. That final shot of the previous episode, with the lightsaber hanging off of Obi-Wan's belt, that's a perfect example. Disney wanted that trailer bait shot, something that fanboys would shed tears over in their reaction videos, even though it's literally the dumbest fucking thing, because walking around with a lightsaber while Inquisitors are hunting Jedi is a fast track to getting your face shoved into the meat grinder. But it looks cool. You got the iconic imagery, the swelling orchestra. Obi-Wan's back, baby! They're pursuing these moments at the expense of the cohesiveness of the plot. At this point in the story, it's implied that Obi-Wan's connection to the Force has withered away along with the rest of them.
It's been 10 years. I'm not who I used to be.
Leia's hanging on by a thread and Obi-Wan's in a bind. Either he uses the Force or she dies. It's that pressure cooker moment where the hero finally steps up, and of course, Obi-Wan does. Wait a second though, this isn't the first time that Obi-Wan used the Force in the show, is it? Earlier in the episode, when Obi-Wan was breaking into the drug compound, he notices that the door going into the back is locked. His plan is to cause one of the drug beakers to overboil and explode, causing a commotion, upon which he pickpockets the key from the guard and slips in while everyone's distracted. But watch the scene again. He enters from the right and then faces the front wall where the camera is. It's the blue beaker behind him that explodes. He doesn't adjust any knobs with his hands or anything. Not that there are any knobs where he is. It's just a shelf of materials and some chemical canisters that aren't hooked up to anything. And with his back turned to the beaker, it blows up all on its own, which is when he slips in. Am I crazy? Because this seems like he used the Force to turn a knob over on the burner, or drastically heat the liquid up or something. And everyone that I was watching this with took it that way too. We were all confused, like, why are they doing a big Obi-Wan has to use the Force for the first time scene? Didn't we just see him use it? Meanwhile, it's revealed that Reva is the one who hired the thugs to kidnap Leia, specifically for the purpose of drawing Obi-Wan out, so that she can capture him and make a name for herself. The other Inquisitors are outraged because, you know, the Imperial Senator's daughter thing. And this is when we get handed this beauty of a scene.
I found a link between him and Organa in the archives. I used the girl as bait.
You hear that line?
I found a link between him and Organa in the archives. I used the girl as bait.
That is a redub. I should know, I do them all the time. If you've got a sharp enough ear, you've been doing this sort of thing long enough, it's not hard to spot. Every time you set up to do voice recording, even if it's the same location, the same microphone, the same equipment, the same people, it always sounds just slightly different. Maybe the mic is in just a slightly different position relative to your mouth. Maybe you're sitting differently. Maybe the moisture content in the air is a little different. Whatever the case is, no two recording sessions sound exactly alike. In fact, this video is so huge, I'm doing 2 recording sessions on 2 different days just to get it all done. Let me know in the comments if you can tell when day 2 starts. So listen to that scene again and really open your ears.
I found a link between him and Organa in the archives. I used the girl as bait.
They added the line, I found a link between him and Organa in the archives, in post. Presumably because they realized after shooting that there is no way anybody should know about a connection between Obi-Wan and Leia. Hell, there's no way that anyone should know that Leia's adopted at all.
You know, my father says they never let you leave this planet. They don't want anybody to know about you because you're not one of us.
Yeah, I know, Bael's wife probably didn't appear pregnant, but you can fake that shit. Fake records and pictures, it's the goddamn future. If Stalin could airbrush literally everybody out of existence, surely wifey here could have been given a baby bump in a picture. Sure, there's no automatic reason to suspect that Bael's publicly adopted daughter is actually the believed to be dead child of Padme Amidala, but why even leave the door open? So, what is this connection that Reva dug up from the archives that is so important that Obi-Wan would come out of hiding to rescue Leia? Is it that Bail Organa and Obi-Wan knew each other back in the day? That's not really enough. Bail's a senator, and Obi-Wan was a Jedi Master. There's plenty of reason that both men would know any number of other state officials or military officials or other important people. They had a working relationship isn't enough. Either the archive showed an extremely tenuous circumstantial connection between Obi-Wan and Bail, and therefore Reva should be executed on the spot by the Grand Inquisitor for taking such an insane and stupid gambit, or the archive showed a rock-solid connection between Bail and Obi-Wan, and therefore a garrison of stormtroopers should be en route to Alderaan immediately to extract any Jedi information from the Organa family, and then send them off to concentration camps to be turned into Soylent drinks. But the show won't commit to either of these possibilities, because the plot simultaneously demands them both. Plausible enough to kinda act on, but not plausible enough to really act on. Reva does get punished for this, though. The Grand Inquisitor benches her and takes over the pursuit of Kenobi himself. So she decides to go do her best Batman impression by hanging out on the rooftops of the city, hoping for some reason that Obi-Wan will show up there. And of course, he does. This leads to a completely meaningless set of scenes where Reva does some very slow, poorly choreographed force parkour to try and get to the gunfight in time, which she doesn't, so whatever. Back on the ground, HYUK tells Obi-Wan to take an automated cargo transport to bypass the Empire shutting down all the shuttles. It's pre-programmed to take them to a safe house because it turns out he's part of the rebellion. And it's at this point that I realize that I really, really hate Leia's character. She's simultaneously the dumb, naive kid and the wise beyond her years serene princess, and you can't be both of those things.
Nothing, you just remind me of someone.
Who? Fucking Jar Jar? Reva shows up though, so Obi-Wan stays behind to give Leia time to get to safety. Start a counter on this one, kids, it happens a lot. So Leia runs ahead to the cargo transport. A transport made only for cargo, not designed for humans to be in it. Okay, so why are there human-sized doors? And human chairs for people to sit on? Also, why can you breathe in the ship when it goes into space? Whatever, we can't worry about that too much. We have this monumentally stupid fucking scene to watch.
Lord Vader will be pleased. You didn't know. He's alive, Obi-Wan. Anakin Skywalker is alive.
So, Obi-Wan knows that Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader.
You have done well, my new apprentice. Now, Lord Vader, go and bring peace to the Empire.
I can't watch anymore.
Vader does keep his real identity a secret from the wider public. There's a lot of stories out there where he kills people he used to know, or who somehow found out. It's kind of the equivalent of Vader wanting his old Anakin Twitter account buried, because there's some edgy shit on there and he lost the password, you know? But Vader himself isn't a secret. He's the public face of the Empire, that's the point of the guy. Darth Vader is the name whispered by the people as a cautionary tale to not fuck with the Empire. Are you seriously telling me that after 10 fucking years, word never made it back to Obi-Wan that there's a dude in a pressure-sealed, burn protective suit named Darth fucking Vader running around, acting as the Empire's frontman? Does the newspaper just not get delivered on Tatooine or what? Anyway, Reva kills the Grand Inquisitor. Everyone knew he was coming back because Star Wars Rebels takes place later in the timeline, and he's in that show. Though to be honest, some people genuinely believed that Disney would violate their own new canon just for the hell of it, including me for a little bit. This did lead to some funny moments of internet salt, the best of which probably being this post on Reddit. I'm so tired of people complaining about stupid shit. Obviously the Grand Inquisitor isn't dead, he's in Rebels, and Pow Ann have 2 stomachs. Oh. Is that the reason why he's not dead? Get stabbed in the stomach, oh, it's no problem, you got another one. Yeah, forget about the spine, or the aorta, or any of the surrounding organs. You've got 2 stomachs, buddy, just use the other one. Just eat a little bit less, it'll be okay. Obi-Wan manages to escape onto the cargo ship with Reva waving her sword menacingly. But isn't there a garrison on the planet now? Surely there's Imperial ships in orbit or something. All Reva has to do is call it in and they'll stop the transport. Okay, we know Reva's setting this up as a double-cross invader, so maybe she won't do it. But why not Umbrella Hat Man, or Reptile Hijab Lady, or any of the other soldiers? Maybe the Grand Inquisitor could do it. You know, before Vader puts him in the back to tank? I have to tell you, before I pass out, my lord, Obi-Wan is on that ship. And there you go, right as rain. I know Hodge's explanation is it's an automated ship, so the Empire will ignore it. That's kind of stupid, isn't it?
It's a cargo port, it's fully automated. They won't be looking for you there.
Wouldn't they stop it just to be sure? Well, they didn't shoot C-3PO and R2-D2's escape pod either.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms. It must have short-circuited.
Maybe the Empire really is just fucking dumb when it comes to letting important ships slip by, because sensors say no one's on board. But wait, Obi-Wan and Leia aren't droids? They would know someone's on board. It doesn't matter though, because they find out where Obi-Wan went anyway, because Reva mind-sucked the information out of HYUK. Wait a minute, mind-sucked the information? Yeah, I know that Kylo Ren did that to Poe, and that was justified because Vader kinda did it to Luke in Return of the Jedi. though that scene seemed like less of a mindsuck and more of a sensing his feelings sort of thing. But if Jedis and Siths can actually mindsuck information out of people, why didn't Vader just do that to Leia without resorting to the drug droid in episode 4? After Reva got the archives, why didn't she just go to Alderaan? Okay, it's guarded. Meet up with Bail at some official Empire function then, and mindsuck him there to find out where Kenobi is. Bail clearly knows, and Reva knows he knows. And oh boy, if she did that, wouldn't that unearth a treasure trove of information? At this point in the timeline, not any Legends retcon shit, but Disney's own lore, Bail Organa is the secret leader of the Rebel Alliance in the Star Wars Rebels show. That's one big fucking way to blow your cover, Bail, and risk the entirety of the Rebel Alliance by sticking your neck out towards Obi-Wan stupidly. Also, why didn't Bail ask any of the Jedi that are part of the Rebel Alliance at this point, including Ahsoka Tano, who is Darth Vader's former Padawan? You know, maybe Obi-Wan would want to know that she's alive, considering their mutual familial bond with Anakin. Hell, Bail would know that Darth Vader is still around, being a senator himself. And though we never see it on screen, presumably he knows that Darth Vader is Anakin, since he's present at the secret meeting at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Why wouldn't he tell Obi-Wan, hey, if you're gonna go save Leia for me, just know that Anakin's still running around out there? Is it because he thinks Obi-Wan won't take the job if he knows? What an asshole. After arriving on the planet, I don't even remember what it's called, it's just the mining planet, because fuck it. After learning that Anakin is still alive, Obi-Wan's having PTSD visions of him off in the distance. Well, actually, just one vision. And they never bring it up again. They could have done something really cool with this idea, but they just drop it. Instead, we get more out-of-character dialogue between Obi-Wan and Leia again, and this time it's really weird.
This is where he told us to come to.
Maybe they're just late?
Maybe it was a lie. I knew it. I never should have trusted him.
We don't know if maybe...
No one is coming here, Leia.
Holy jeez, chill out, dude. You just got here. They hitch a ride with Cloaca Face here when a bunch of soldiers looking for a Jedi pile in. Shouldn't these guys recognize Obi-Wan?
This is no ordinary Jedi. Kenobi is the last ember of a dying age.
Surely the Empire would have told them which Jedi they're hunting out here, right?
Are you sure he's even on this planet?
They know what they're doing, Leia.
You called her Leia.
Oh my god, dude, they also know that Leia is missing. This is the kind of goof up that you'd see in Spaceballs or one of the Family Guy spoof movies, not in an actual Star Wars show. Anyway, the soldiers somehow don't recognize him, and they get off at their stop, giving us space for another Obi-Wan-Leia bonding moment.
Are you my real father?
I wish I could say I was.
Dude, is this you admitting that you wanted to fuck Padme? That makes this scene hit different.
You will not take her from me!
But our guy Freck sells him out at the next Imperial checkpoint because, I don't know, you talked about being a Jedi in the back seat?
As Jedi were taken from our families when we were very young. Then I joined the Jedi and I got a new family just like you.
All throughout this show, Obi-Wan has a bad fucking habit of spilling the beans in public, let me tell you. Obi-Wan is asked to step out of the vehicle and he complies. Good move, dude. Never fight the cops, always get your day in court. And the scanner droid is brought in to finally face ID him with the Empire's Facebook Chinese algorithm shit. Upon which Obi-Wan blasts it in the camera, completely destroying it. Now, we all remember in the original trilogy, scanner droids being incredibly weak. And every time they show up, they get downed in one shot. But they're actually not that fragile. Yeah, there's that scene in Empire where Han takes one out in 2 shots, but everyone always forgets the next line.
I didn't hit it that hard. Must have had a self-destruct.
Yeah, it purposely destroyed itself after sending information back to the Empire so that the Rebellion wouldn't get any intelligence. But I guess they're all just made out of paper mache now. In probably the second most notorious fight scene in the show, because a dude gratuitously falls into the laser gate and gets fucking vivisected. Jesus Christ! Obi-Wan takes out the stormtroopers, but also takes out Freck. What the hell, man? Obi-Wan doesn't know that Freck sold him out. He said that quietly to the stormtroopers. Look at Obi-Wan's face. It could have been just a routine check. It is a checkpoint, you know? And Obi-Wan's just like, well, fuck you, bonk. Dude, just go around it. Just go around the laser wall. You're literally outdoors. It's a hill. Go around it. Anyway, Tala, that chick from Game of Thrones, arrives and picks up Obi-Wan after slaughtering her own unit. Surprise! She's a mole within the Empire working for the Rebellion. And she reveals that if Obi-Wan was just a bit more patient, none of this would have happened.
He gave you the right coordinates. I was on my way when the probes arrived, but you'd already gone.
I hadn't expected anyone to come.
Oh, imagine that, Obi-Wan. Look at just how many people died because you couldn't take a breather. Look at poor Freck. Also, guys, you're visible on the fucking street. Why didn't you put on Stormtrooper armor? We know it comes off easy enough. Why didn't you suit up for this? Instead of running around the town square in your Jedi robes, you should have left back on Tatooine. Tala brings them into the Jedi Underground Railroad, where stupidly, everybody who's passed through here has written their name on the wall. Why would you let anybody do this? If this place is ever discovered, the Empire now has a record of everybody who survived Order 66, and they'll be keeping an eye out for them.
But there's no way that'll ever happen.
Also, how many times are we going to get an origin story for the Rebel Alliance Starbird symbol? In the original canon, it was the family crest of the noble house of Merrick, which featured prominently in The Force Unleashed. That whole storyline has been thrown into the legend shitter though, and replaced with this purple-haired chick, who is a Mandalorian graffiti artist, who started painting phoenixes on TIE fighters as a way of fighting the power. Also, maybe this dude from Rogue One did it. The wiki's not exactly clear, but the Kenobi show implies that it was actually started as an adaptation of the symbol of the Order of the Jedi, which was a lightsaber with wings, and after the path turned into the Rebellion, they kept an altered version of that symbol. In fact, it looks kind of like it fell prey to the corporate dumbing down of symbols, making it look all sleek and simplistic. You need to run. Run, Obi-Wan, he can sense you. Obi-Wan, you're in the safe house of the Underground Railroad, and you're lit up like a Force Christmas tree. Run! Obi-Wan stays behind to give Leia time to get to safety. But then Tala sends Leia ahead to go back for Obi-Wan. Everyone's just self-sacrificing all over the place, sending the little girl off on her own, hoping that she'll make it, and she doesn't. Wait, how did Reva get ahead of her? Reva enters the tunnel that Leia goes down. How did she beat her there? Okay, let's assume that the tunnel has a branching path. That's the path that Obi-Wan and Tala go to attend the obligatory Vader confrontation. Leia's still ahead of Reva, so for Reva to get ahead of Leia, Leia has to double back, go down the other path, let Reva get ahead, and then double back again. Or, alternatively, it's just a giant labyrinth down there, and therefore it was wildly irresponsible to let Leia go off on her own. Okay, I get it. Obi-Wan's terrified. He's not ready to face Anakin again. But the way they shot and cut that scene is like he ran behind a pile of gravel and then came back out the same way. Like, oops, I dropped my keys back there or something. The duel between them is kinda lame. Shadiversity does a great job breaking down this fight, and many others. You should go check that shit out. But there's a point in this fight where we just break one of the most fundamental Star Wars rules. Anakin uses the Force on Obi-Wan during a duel. Now, this has never been directly confirmed, except in, video games, where the game prevents you from doing this exact thing, for this exact reason. But it's always been under everyone's impression that Jedis and Siths didn't use the Force on each other directly, because it would just be a waste of energy. You'd be able to counteract it, which is why Vader always Force chokes regular people, not Jedi. But I guess that's just not the case anymore, so I don't know. I gotta say, I do like the idea that Vader wants to torture the fuck out of Obi-Wan for revenge, and just dunks him in the fire like he's a Dunkaroo cracker going into the plastic cheese sauce.
When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Yeah, when you learned how to burn my fucking arm off. Then Vader extinguishes the flames with the Force, which I didn't know was a power, but alright. And then Tala saves the day by shooting a random stormtrooper. She doesn't shoot Vader, no. Also, Vader doesn't somehow sense her there. And everyone reacts like they have no idea where the shot came from, despite her using a blaster, even though you can see the bright flash of light from it. So Tala reignites the fire with the blaster, creating an impenetrable barrier between Obi-Wan and the stormtroopers, allowing Tala's loader to scoop Obi-Wan up and carry him to safety. Vader doesn't extinguish the flames again. The stormtroopers don't, walk around the huge blaze. Nope, nothing. Obi-Wan just gets away because fuck it, I guess we're not even trying anymore. Episode 4 opens with Obi-Wan getting dunked into the Bacta tank at the Rebel base on Jabim, where we see his hallucinations about Anakin, intercut with Anakin himself, also in a Bacta tank. I guess he has to sit in one because of his burns, which is a nice touch. Thematically, I mean. Meanwhile, Leia is held captive at the Fortress Inquisitorius, which is first shown in the video game Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which, by the way, had a much hotter sister Inquisitor villain. I guess that's why she's the second sister and Reva's the third. Almost immediately during the interrogation, Leia spills the beans.
The Empire doesn't take kindly to Jedi sympathizers.
He will come for me.
Yep, no plausible deniability, just Obi-Wan will come for me. That's it. That's the end of the Organas. The Empire should just liquidate the entire family at this point. And yeah, I know Reva's actually got ulterior motives, but how about these guys? Do you think they're not going to tell their superiors about the link between Leia and Obi-Wan after Reva goes off the Imperial plantation? How in the fuck did Leia ever become a senator after this? Wait a minute, why did Leia become a senator? Surely that kind of job would have brought her in contact with Vader and Palpatine plenty of times. Wasn't the whole point that the Sith could sense the kids, so they needed to be in isolation?
Hidden, safe. The children must be kept.
We must take them somewhere where the Sith will not sense their presence.
How did Vader not censor on the Death Star? Once Obi-Wan wakes up, he talks to the local leader of the rebellion in order to try and get some help retrieving Leia, which is when Tala drops this bomb.
She knows everything. Where we are, what we're doing.
Why? Why would you entrust a 10-year-old kid with all of your plans like... Wait. When did you entrust her? Was it this scene?
We have safe houses like this throughout the galaxy. It all leads to Jabim. From there, we give them new identities and get them out.
Does it look like Leia is listening?
I don't know anything about a path.
That's actually true. Leia knows literally nothing. Actually, this whole scene, every single line is a bomb.
You've no idea what the Empire is capable of.
These people have been fighting for years. You've been in a fucking cave this whole time. What do you know? But this comment prompts the leader to give an emotionally hollow speech about his dead wife.
I had a wife once. So I know exactly what the Empire can do.
This guy, he goes from not helping to helping in the span of about 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. Look, if you want my help, you got it.
In fact, he talks himself into it with the dead wife speech. It's not like Obi-Wan convinces him. So they begin to plan the assault of the Fortress Inquisitorius, and I swear this episode is the worst of the bunch. Listen in here.
I don't see any shields.
That's because no one would be stupid enough to attack.
How does that make any sense? Isn't that the opposite of how it works? People would be too smart to attack if it was too heavily fortified? Oh, wait. 5 years earlier in the timeline, during Jedi Fallen Order, a game which everybody, Disney, EA, went to great lengths to ensure is actually canon, Cal Kestis goes to the Fortress Inquisitorius in the exact same way that Obi-Wan does, but this time it has shields that need to be taken down.
I've disabled the shields on the outer sections of the fortress.
I don't see any shields.
That's because no one would be stupid enough to attack.
With the defenses they got, our usual tricks just aren't gonna cut it.
I don't see any shields.
That's because no one would be stupid enough to attack.
It's impenetrable, Wade.
I don't see any shields.
That's because no one would be stupid enough to attack.
Somehow, some fucking how, Tala's cover is still intact, even though she, gunned down her own squad at Imperial checkpoint, and the Empire was there that same evening investigating the planet. I guess they just missed that. I know that when most people watch this scene...
No admittance without clearance.
I have Officer Class C.
Now, please.
Is there a problem?
This isn't your sector. I can't let you through.
I'm your commanding officer, and you will address me as
Ma'am!
Their knee-jerk response is to say that her bullshitting and rank pulling wouldn't work, because people do have assigned posts, and you can't just bully your way through somebody else's command, especially in a sensitive area like this, which are all things that you would know if you talk to anybody with any military experience. But to me, the more pressing problem is that when he stuck her ID rod into the computer, a big flashing screen should have popped up telling him that her own squad was found dead and she was missing on a planet where Obi-Wan and Leia were sighted dealing with the rebels. The exact same Leia that's in their basement now. And so begins the worst infiltration in probably all of cinema history. Tala is just hanging out around other Imperials, openly talking to Obi-Wan on the mic. In fact, this guy even notices her, and he's like, well, yeah, that's kind of weird, but it's almost time for my break. She is, of course, discovered, upon which she goes with the officer behind a large computer in the same room and knocks him out. Again, in the same room that all the other officers are doing their work in. Do these guys just not hear what's going on? Do they not think it's weird she just comes back after getting told to report to security? This is some Metal Gear Solid level of hide the guard shit.
Huh? What was that noise? Huh? Whose footprints are these? Huh? What was that noise? Huh? Whose footprints are these? Huh? What was that noise?
At the deepest level of the fortress, down where Reva is torturing Leia, put a big pin in that, we'll get back to it, Obi-Wan discovers the big secret of the facility. It's actually a tomb for all the dead Jedi from Order 66. At least that's what Obi-Wan assumes it is. But if it is a tomb, why does it look like they're frozen in place from the moment they died? Like, look at this kid. It looks like he's been time-stopped right when he got shot. The cynical part of me wants to say that Disney's gonna come out in some future show and say, oh, those guys down there weren't dead, they were just in stasis. That's why they all look like that. And that's how they can bring back any character they want. You want a Mace Windu show? It's okay, they put them back together after the fall. You want an Ayla Secura show? Everyone likes blue girls. You want a Kit Fisto show? With a name like that, pair him with Ayla. Though, these guys can't be in stasis, can they? That was the whole point of carbonite freezing in Empire. Nobody had developed the technology to put people into stasis yet, or at least technology that would reliably work on a Jedi. The whole middle arc of Empire, on the Imperial side anyway, was Vader trying to find a way to incapacitate Luke, and he finally settled on jerry-rigging Lando's gas refining equipment.
We only use this facility for carbon freezing. You put him in there, it might kill him.
I do not want the Emperor's prize damaged. We will test it on Captain Solo.
The only logical conclusion is that this place is as Obi-Wan said.
It's a tomb.
But if that's the case, then this scene serves no purpose in the show. They don't come back here and do anything. This information never comes up again. If it's meant to show how bad the Empire is, that they're turning Jedi corpses into trophies, I mean, yeah, alright. But at this point, we all already know how bad the Empire is.
You've no idea what the Empire is capable of.
Yes, we do, Obi-Wan. We always have. The scene where Obi-Wan solid snakes into the torture chamber and saves Leia is actually great. The idea of a Jedi using darkness to his advantage by turning off his lightsaber so you can't see him. We haven't seen that before, and I kinda like it. Hey, shouldn't our helmets have night vision? Ah! Meanwhile, Tala breaks free from her stormtrooper guard. Yeah, she got caught and brought to security a second time by slapping him in the face. Yes, really. At this point, stormtrooper armor seems to make people less defended when they put it on. If the gate guard getting the Darth Maul treatment is the second most notorious action scene in Kenobi, this one is the first. As Obi-Wan and Leia escape, he accidentally deflects a blaster bolt into the pressurized glass, causing the weight of the ocean to breach into the hallway. Obi-Wan tells Tala to take Leia and escape while he uses his force powers to hold the water back. And the show presents this like it's a great magical moment. Like this is when Obi-Wan finally gets his Force mojo back. In fact, they even set it up earlier in the episode, where Obi-Wan is struggling to spin a fidget spinner using the Force, and Tala is like, "You've got PTSD!" Like this hallway scene is the big moment where Obi-Wan recommunes with the Force. But we already had this moment. We had it when Obi-Wan catches Leia on Daiyu. Their final plan is to just walk right through the crowd, with Leia underneath Obi-Wan's coat. I've seen soy boys online defend this scene, saying that Star Wars should have comedy, and yes, I completely agree. C-3PO, R2-D2, Chewie, Anakin's banter in the same movie he becomes one of cinema's greatest villains.
Wait a minute. How did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Apparently not.
Even the more questionable choices like the Ewoks or Jar Jar, fine. Star Wars should have moments of comedy. But just as this scene, or this scene, or this scene shouldn't be a moment of comedy, neither should this scene. In fact, one of the main reasons that this show rapes the old lore is because it actually turns this scene into a farce, with Leia's complete non-reaction. You have to have a specific type of anti-talent to ruin genuinely good movies and turn serious scenes into comedic scenes with your new incompetent additions. Like, I don't even know if I can overstate just how stupid this is. And the show just lets it happen. No one's blinking an eye. For some reason, nobody can tell that Obi-Wan's coat is a fucking circus tent. Nobody's stopping them. They just waltz right out into the hangar. General Obi-Wan Kenobi, years ago you smuggled me out of the Imperial base underneath your trench coat. In fact, even after Reva actually stops them, people are still going about their business. Guys, do you mind? We're trying to do a scene here. The rebels show up in 2 snow speeders to pick them up. One speeder occupies Reva, while the other picks up the gang. I guess all 3 of them fit into the back of a speeder now? Y'all know those things only hold 2 people, right? 1 pilot, 1 gunner? Did Obi-Wan, Leia, and Tala just cram themselves in the back? Is Leia's face squished up against the glass? They never show them getting in it, so I guess we're just not supposed to think about it. After the tragic death of Wade. Oh no, that guy. I guess he's wading in the ocean now. They return back home to the rebel base. Wait a second, though. The Fortress Inquisitorius is on the planet Nur. Nur is a water world. It's a moon of Mustafar. Mustafar is the infamous lava planet where Anakin got barbecued. But more importantly, at this point, it's the place where Darth Vader has built his upstate cottage for when he needs a getaway from the everyday life of running the Empire. Yes, I know, it's symbolic, because Vader's emotionally stuck at the point where he lost everything, and now he's also physically stuck there too. Fine. But how in the holy hell did the rebels even get into Darth Vader's personal star system without getting noticed?
It's in the Mustafar system.
That's Vader's system.
Why isn't there Star Destroyers or something in orbit around both Vader's castle and the Fortress Inquisitorius? And how did the rebels get away? Why didn't they scramble ships? Even if there's somehow nobody in orbit, you've got ships in the hangar. Episode 5 opens with a tribute to Wade, our fallen comrade.
Alright, right behind you.
I'm actually surprised they remembered to put him in the recap. I figured something that sullen would have weighed the episode down. Okay, I'm done. That's the last one. This episode is interspersed with flashbacks to Attack of the Clones, from when Anakin was a Padawan, and Obi-Wan was still training him in how to fight, using real lightsabers though for some reason. And it looks like they kinda de-aged Hayden Christensen. Not really, you know? It looks like they cast a 40-year-old man to play a 20-year-old, and used the latest technology to de-age him to about 35. In fact, we know this could have been done better because somebody did do it better. Look at these two scenes. Disney, how do you fuck up turning on a Snapchat filter? Flash forward to the present day, where it turns out that Reva is being made Grand Inquisitor because of her cunning plan. You see, it was all a ploy on her part that Obi-Wan would escape, because she put a tracker on him, and now they'll lead the Empire back to the Rebel base, where a hacked Lola will disable their defenses from the inside. A plan which requires Lola to have the ability to open a maintenance hatch without touching it. Must be some pretty strong magnets in there. The tracker and hacker on Lola, by the way, is one of those restraining bolts that we've seen previously. In A New Hope, it didn't actually alter the personalities of R2-D2 or C-3PO. It just let them be immobilized by a remote control. But okay, let's assume that Lola's been turned evil by a restraining bolt. Oh, if only you had noticed the Terminator eye sooner, Leia. Wait a minute! How did Leia even get Lola back? Lola tried to attack Reva with her micro saw blade during the interrogation scene. That's pretty dangerous for a kid's toy, by the way. But Reva easily subdued Lola with the Force, and immediately after took Leia to the torture chamber. Reva was called away by Tal's distraction, and that's when Obi-Wan does the Splinter Cell thing to rescue her. At this point, the only other time Reva and Leia are even in the same room is during the escape, where Reva is a bit preoccupied. And it's not like anybody else knew to give the droid back to her, because Vader and the other Inquisitors are royally pissed off until Reva explains her gambit. And yet, Leia's got Lola. Either Lola flew out of Reva's pocket into the speeder on her own, off-screen, or we're being asked to believe that Reva, in between the interrogation scene where she first grabbed Lola, and the immediate march down to the torture chamber, took a side detour to mess with the droid and then give it back to Leia, also off-screen. Disney didn't write this show with the intention that your brain be engaged while watching it. But all the defenders online are saying, hey, you see, this show is smart. This explains how Leia knew they were being tracked in episode 4.
They let us go. It's the only explanation for the ease of our escape.
Easy? You call that easy?
They're tracking us.
It happened to Leia as a kid, so she can see it coming as an adult. Smart writing. Except it's not, because this makes Obi-Wan look like a complete fucking buffoon. Obi-Wan did the very same thing to Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones. Why didn't he see it coming then, like Leia did? Lola's there, I guess, and transmitting information back to the Empire. The rebels are planning to evacuate, because, you know, the Imperials are closing in. The reason that the Anakin Obi-Wan training flashback is even in this episode is so that Obi-Wan can reflect on Anakin's fighting style and use that knowledge to make this remark.
He'll attack next. He hasn't the patience for a siege.
Okay, fair enough. But this turns out to be a completely irrelevant insight because the Empire could just bomb them from orbit. And I don't know why they don't, because their only objective is to kill everyone there. Instead, they opt to send troops down with a huge gun, which ends up being completely useless against the blast doors. It's okay though, because the blast doors get instantly shredded by Reva's lightsaber anyway. I guess patience for a siege wasn't necessary after all, eh, Obi-Wan? Hey, remember when it took Qui-Gon Jinn several minutes of stern concentration with his lightsaber to be able to melt a hole on a blast door? Meanwhile, Bail Organa sends a completely unnecessary, traceable, and highly sensitive message to Obi-Wan during the midst of all this, where he says,
I know we said no communication, but your silence worries me. If he's found you, if he's learned of the children, if I don't hear from you soon, I'll head to Tatooine. Owen will need help with the boy.
Oh, smart, dude. The fucking brains on this guy. I think you've been found, so I'm going to send this message with secret info in it to you, Obi-Wan. Let's hope the Empire doesn't find it. Oh. Immediately after this, Tala gives her death flag speech, and then Obi-Wan goes to the blast doors to buy the others time to escape, and to confront Reva, who also gives her death flag speech.
He was your Padawan. Where were you while he was killing my friends?
The ensuing fight consists of stormtroopers pouring into the breach made by Reva's lightsaber, all of them missing every single shot. Okay, so I know you're stormtroopers, but Obi-Wan's the only target for a solid 10 seconds. How are you guys missing? Look at this dude. Where are you shooting? Obi-Wan is right there. What are you aiming at? Also, at this point, Disney has retconned the Force, such that we know a Jedi can stop blaster bolts in midair without having to deflect anything. Why doesn't Obi-Wan just pull a Neo and hold them back? I mean, we are going to see him do something equivalent by the end of the series, so why the fuck not? The fight is ended by Tala, who sacrifices herself by way of a thermal detonator. I don't know why she didn't just throw it. It's a grenade. She probably could have survived, but I guess Disney is hoping that you'll care. So, the breach is sealed by Tala's sacrifice. Wait, not really, because Obi-Wan just walks back 15 seconds later. So why did this explosion stop the fighting? Yeah, it killed a bunch of people, but it didn't close the hole through the blast door, and there's clearly more stormtroopers. You know what? Whatever, I don't care anymore. Obi-Wan decides to go right back out there to sacrifice himself again. That's 2 times now in the span of 2 minutes, where he has another sensitive conversation out in the open, this time with Reva about her secret plan to kill Darth Vader.
You're not bringing him to me. I'm bringing him to you.
Jesus Christ, this time they're both retarded. Dude, the stormtroopers are right there. Do you think they don't hear you plotting the assassination of Darth fucking Vader? And it's at this point that Reva unveils her grand plan. Okay, so let me lay this out for you. You're gonna want to get a drink for this. Reva is apparently one of the many Jedi who survived Order 66 as a youngling, right? Afterward, she devoted herself to hunting and killing Darth Vader. Her plan was to become an Inquisitor, get close to Vader, and then knife him in the back. At the start of the series, we're told that Reva has a weird obsession with finding Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everyone else has given up the hunt, and they find Reva's obsession to be a bit off-putting. Great way for her to blow her cover, but whatever. Reva's plan is to... Okay, I gotta keep it together here. Reva's plan is to hire drug dealers on the slum planet of Daiyu to fly to Alderaan, a prosperous core world, bypass all of their security, kidnap Princess Leia, daughter of an Imperial senator, and the queen of the planet. Wait a second, I thought Leia was a princess because Padme was queen of Naboo. Oh, but I guess that had to be kept secret because nobody's supposed to know about the Leia-Padme connection. In retrospect, it kind of feels like in episode 1, the only reason Padme is a queen is to hint at the future relationship with Anakin, where their daughter turns out to be a princess. But by episode 3, George Lucas realized this was supposed to be a secret, so I guess she's got 2 queen mothers now. Jesus, the fuckery that is Star Wars is getting to me. Reva's plan. Okay, hire the Daiyu drug dealers to kidnap Leia off the heavily fortified world of Alderaan. Then she hopes that Bail Organa calls up Obi-Wan for help, rather than using any of his other resources at his disposal. Because according to the fabled archive files, Bail Organa knows where Obi-Wan is. And rather than just extract that information out of him, Reva would rather Obi-Wan resurface on his own. And when Obi-Wan takes the bait, Reva will apprehend him. Or at least that's what she tells the other Inquisitors. Her actual plan is to get Obi-Wan in front of Vader so that he will be distracted enough that she can kill him. And when the first attempt to do that plan fails on Daiyu, the second plan is to just do the exact same thing again at the Fortress Inquisitorius. And when that plan fails, the third plan is to do the exact same thing again at the Rebel base. Only this time the plan really fails, because Darth Vader's fucking Darth Vader.
He was wise to use you against me.
Yeah, that. So Leia fixes the hangar doors in time, Obi-Wan slips away from the stormtroopers, Haja accidentally drops Obi-Wan's secret message from Bail Organa. Yeah, Haja's here too and he had the message. Don't worry, it's really not important. And everybody piles into the transport ready to go. Vader arrives just in time to pull the transport back with the Force. And it's at this point everybody, and I mean everybody, gave up on this fucking show. If this is what the Force can do now, why does Vader even bother with the lightsaber shit? Why doesn't he just pop people's heads like that one chick from The Boys? When he had Obi-Wan strung up, why not just immediately dismember him? Fuck it. Why didn't Vader just slam Luke into the carbonite freezer? Hell, why didn't Vader hold back the Millennium Falcon in Empire? When the Force is this strong, it breaks the fucking canon. People were complaining about Starkiller pulling Star Destroyers out of orbit in Force Unleashed back in the day, and rightfully so. They made that game non-canon, but they brought back its most egregious component because fuck me, I guess. But it's all okay, because it was a fake ship, and the real one gets away immediately after. Why doesn't Vader just hold back that one too? This is the same problem with that fire extinguisher scene. They establish a rule, an expectation in the viewer's mind of what can be done, and then they immediately violate it in the same scene, because they've written themselves into a corner. Also, how did the rebels know that Vader would do that? Is that another one of Obi-Wan's off-screen nuggets of wisdom based on Vader's personality? Or maybe Obi-Wan went on that one Disney World ride, where Vader holds a ship back so he knows what's coming. Also, where is that second ship? Seriously, you can't see it when the first ship flies off. Is it this? This blurry blob deep in the background? Is that the ship they're all on? It's a hell of a lot bigger when it takes off. Also, there's a Star Destroyer in orbit. I hope they don't just let the ship get away again, like on Daiyu to the mining planet, or the mining planet to the Rebel base, or leaving the Fortress Inquisitorius. It really feels like the Empire is severely undermanned in this show. Like they've got maybe a couple dozen guys at best to do all of this shit. The confrontation between Reva and Vader is actually really interesting, where Reva is just hopelessly outmatched to the point that Vader doesn't even draw his lightsaber. He simply blocks her attacks with the Force. It's a new way of fighting we haven't really seen before in Star Wars. It almost feels like martial arts. But then the fight immediately dive bombs into what I can only describe as a Dark Souls roll fight. Seriously, that's the only way to describe what Reva is doing here. Was the original plan for Reva to do some kind of capoeira shit, and the actress just couldn't pull the moves off, so it came out looking like this? Why would you leave this farce in? Of course, the Grand Inquisitor is still alive. He survived getting stabbed in the gut just like Reva did as a child. Oh, and just like Reva did again as an adult. How many stomachs does Reva have, guys? And of course, they just leave her to bleed out. Reva manages to find the message that HYUK dropped. It's damaged, but she fixes it enough to hear part of the message.
He's found. If he's learned of the children, I'll head to Tatooine. Owen, help the boy.
Because Reva had that run-in with Uncle Owen in the first episode, when she hears that message that Bail Organa totally should not have sent, she recognizes that there's some sort of connection between Owen, specifically his son, and the Organa family. So she somehow manages to make her way to Tatooine, while wounded, and without any sort of interstellar transport. The rebels have already left, the Imperials are gone. How the hell did she get off this rock?
Are you okay?
I just sensed a plot hole. Word gets back to Uncle Owen that an Inquisitor is coming, and the Lars family decides the best course of action isn't to skip town, go lay low. No, Aunt Beru wants to stand and fight.
We need to leave, Beru. We need to take Luke and hide somewhere.
Where? In the desert? I'm not leaving my home. At least here we have a chance.
Remember, these guys don't know that Reva is injured and working alone, and without the institutional backing of the Imperial state. Also, they know they're holding onto a child of destiny. I know it's stupid, but the show's acting this way, so let's just roll with it at this point. So surely they must have a plan if the Empire ever came knocking? But nope, the plan is just castle doctrine. Get some rifles and fight them off from inside your own house. These people are fucking stupid. I expected this show to rape and butcher the characters of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, but not Aunt fucking Beru. Obi-Wan stays behind to sacrifice himself and let the rebels get away again. But this time, the gambit shouldn't work. The Empire is pursuing the rebel ship in a Star Destroyer. You have more than enough resources to split them here and pursue both.
My lord, we must continue our pursuit of the insurgents. Now is our chance to wipe out this network in its entirety. We cannot prioritize one lone Jedi.
He is not just any Jedi. Follow Kenobi.
At once, Lord Vader.
And you know, I get it. They're showing that Vader is obsessed with Obi-Wan and it's blinding him. But look at the Grand Inquisitor's face in this scene. This is the look you make when you know that your boss just made the biggest mistake of his career, but you can't say anything because if you do, he'll fire you. It doesn't even make sense because when they arrive at the obligatory deserted dueling planet, Vader takes his personal shuttle down. These shuttles are capable of going into hyperdrive. There's no reason Vader couldn't have taken his shuttle to pursue Obi-Wan and left the pursuit of the rebels in the hands of the Grand Inquisitor on the Star Destroyer.
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
Dude, you followed me here. Yeah, we're heading into the confrontation with Vader, which I know this show's been building up to, but it kind of deflates the emotional impact of their reuniting in A New Hope, doesn't it?
I sense something. A presence I've not felt since...
Obi-Wan blasted my mask off 9 years ago.
And so begins the culmination of the emotional arc of the entire season, where Obi-Wan has faced his fears, he's got his mojo back, and he's ready to finally confront Vader. The fight is again actually pretty good. The music is even okay. Though I have no idea why they didn't use Battle of the Heroes from Episode 3. The callback would be incredible, wouldn't it? Like here, just check out the same scene with Episode 3's music. Isn't that fucking incredible? While all this is going on, Reva sneaks onto the Lars homestead under the cover of darkness, and immediately reveals herself by igniting her lightsaber. Uncle Owen, now knowing where she is, takes a shot, and misses. Jesus, what a comedy of errors. Uncle Owen does get one badass moment though, with this exchange with Reva.
You really love the boy. Like he's your own.
He is my own.
You know, gotta hand it to the guy. He's fighting an Inquisitor with a pipe. But unfortunately for Reva, Luke does what they all should have done hours ago. Run into the desert.
What do you want? I want a spin-off series.
Meanwhile, back where the audience's focus and care actually resides, the Obi-Wan vs. Anakin rematch is picking up the pace. A bit too much, actually. That really seems to be what's at the core of the cool scene-itis problem with Disney Star Wars. Even when they have a legitimately good idea, they turn it up so much it becomes entirely unbelievable. Check this bit out. Vader force throws a rock into Obi-Wan's leg so hard that the rock shatters and Obi-Wan goes down. Now, Obi-Wan shouldn't be getting up from that. That liquefied his fucking ankle, dude. Vader goes on to bury him in more rocks, while dropping the blandest possible one-liner.
You have failed, Master.
Oh, come on, man. At least say something like,
I actually do have the high ground, Obi-Wan. Would you look at that?
Obi-Wan manages to hold out underneath the rock pile by creepily thinking of Luke and Leia. And this is clearly meant to be the moment where Obi-Wan is inspired by those who he has to protect, to get his mojo back, for the 15th time. So Obi-Wan pulls himself out of the hole and oh, come the fuck on. Remember when Master fucking Yoda had to struggle to move just a few rocks? Remember when lifting an X-Wing out of the swamp was considered the maximum extent of Force levitation powers? Putting these kind of concrete restrictions on the use of the Force makes Jedi more interesting, because while they can do things others can't, and they are extremely special, they're not overpowered, they don't break the story, and therefore even a good Jedi can be overcome if you come at the problem from the right angle. That's the point of the Mandalorians and their anti-Jedi weaponry. That's the point of Order 66, and overwhelming them with sheer numbers. But if Obi-Wan can actually act as a one-man artillery unit, then fuck it, dude, just go home. Why didn't he cause the mountain to collapse on all of his clone troopers? Because the prequels, for all of their faults, weren't this stupid. Obi-Wan strikes the decisive blow on Vader's helmet, dramatically revealing his scarred face. His voice in this scene is a mixture of Anakin and Vader's, which is a nice touch.
Anakin's gone. I am what remains.
The way the shots are framed, where you get that close-up of Anakin's disfigured, vulnerable face beneath the terror-inducing Vader mask, how the scene is only lit by the glow of their lightsabers, how Anakin's face flashes with 50 different emotions after Obi-Wan apologizes to him. This is the money shot of the entire show. Every character moment has pushed Obi-Wan towards letting go of his guilt. And when Obi-Wan says,
I'm sorry, Anakin. For all of it.
He's taking responsibility. Not just for what he did to Anakin in their fight, but for how he failed Anakin, for what Anakin became. Obi-Wan is saying, even for the things that he's not responsible for, he's sorry that things turned out how they did. And Anakin, in a way, absolves him of all that responsibility. That tiny flash of an evil smile shows Obi-Wan that Anakin actually likes who he's become. I am absolutely convinced that this is the scene the writers base this entire show around. The ultimate case of cool scene-itis. Dude, wouldn't it be fucking cool if Obi-Wan re-encountered Vader and learned just how much of a monster he's become? Yeah, it would be. But you need a narrative that supports that journey. You need a well-crafted story that will pick Obi-Wan up out of the desert where we left him at the end of episode 3, have that cool scene in a way that doesn't break the lore, and then put him back down where he is in time for episode 4. And this show ain't that. That's why so many things happen at the end, for absolutely no reason at all, other than the fact that we need to reset the game board in time for A New Hope. Obi-Wan has Vader beaten here. It's over, and he just walks away. Why? Why are you leaving? You even admit that Anakin is dead to you now, so why not make him actually dead? At this point, Obi-Wan knows, he's seen what kind of monster Vader is, and he still lets him live. To go on to, for example, blow up Alderaan. Yeah, Obi-Wan, those millions of voices? That's your fault now, buddy. You just fucked up the homeworld of that little girl you apparently have a special bond with, but that's okay, right? Now, you would think that we would end the show on the resolution of the most important arc. But no. After Vader is beaten, Reva is still playing grab-ass in the desert with Luke.
Father's lightsaber.
Yeah, I know. Reva attacked my house 10 years ago while you were off on an adventure with my sister. Luke falls or something and gets knocked out. I don't know. I'm writing this part of the script at like 3 a.m. and I can't be arsed to go back and check. So Reva is finally able to catch up and get her revenge. But she can't. She sees herself in Luke and she just can't do it. This is why everyone loves Reva, you guys. She's just confused. She's redeemed because she didn't kill the plot armor character. And that is a load of horse shit. What about all the other people Reva has killed? What about all the other shit she's done over the years? What about One-Armed Sally back in Mos Eisley? You think she's ever going to be able to masturbate normally again? Doesn't she have some kind of moral consideration too, even though she's not a main character? Hell, what about Leia? Why wasn't she having PTSD flashbacks preventing her from torturing Leia? It was only getting called away that stopped her in the end. Did she just critically fail her willpower role when it came to Luke? Here's what people don't seem to understand nowadays about a good redemption arc. If Darth Vader had survived the Empire's fall, he would have been put on trial for war crimes, regardless of his redemption. Now, if he's actually redeemed, he also would have accepted that fate and gone to his death peacefully. But the point is, suddenly saying, I'm the good guy now, even if you mean it, doesn't absolve you of what you did. That's the beginning point of the journey, not the end. So when Reva walks back to the Owen family home carrying an unconscious Luke, Obi-Wan, yeah, he made it back to Tatooine just in time for the action. The Star Destroyer in orbit gave him no trouble because of course it didn't. Obi-Wan should immediately stick his lightsaber to her forehead and turn it on. But he doesn't because she's redeemed, and she made the right choice. And because, I'm guessing, Disney's hoping to parlay this appearance into a Reva spin-off show. The obligatory reset button scene pretends it's a character moment, but it's not. It's here to restore the status quo and not disrupt the lore. Though considering all the plot holes I just bitched about for over an hour, there's no way one scene will repair all the damage the show has caused. But here is their attempt.
Will I ever see you again?
Maybe. Someday. If you ever need help from a tired old man. But we must be careful. No one must know, or it could endanger us both.
Even though it's already common knowledge among the many stormtroopers and inquisitors who saw it. The story ends with Obi-Wan deciding to move on with his life, even though we all know that moving on means moving from a Tatooine cave to a Tatooine hut. Moreover, at this point, he should be the most wanted fucking Jedi in the galaxy, now that it's confirmed he's still alive, having been a Jedi Master, a general of the Old Republic, his knowledge and dealings with the Rebel Alliance, his knowledge of Darth Vader's true identity, the fact that he managed to humiliate Vader in single combat again. His cover is entirely blown. But hey, it's okay! As part of the reset button, Vader tells the Emperor he's not going to pursue Obi-Wan, even though that goes against literally everything established about him. This is Ian McDiamond, whatever his name is, his one scene in the show. I bet he literally phoned his lines in over Discord.
The only protection he needs now, Owen, is you.
No! These events have proven that Luke desperately needs you around, Obi-Wan. There are Imperial files somewhere that link you to Bail Organa and his daughter. And then you dropped a top-secret message linking Bail Organa to the young boy in Uncle Owen's care. Now, the audience knows that Reva got a hold of the message and nobody else. But you don't know that, Obi-Wan. From your point of view, there's a trail of breadcrumbs out there leading Vader to Luke, just waiting for somebody to stumble upon it. And Obi-Wan is too fucking stupid to even recognize that it's the case. But that's okay, because you know who's equally stupid? Darth Vader himself. So, Darth Vader is a retard, and it's not solely because of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but that does give us the final puzzle pieces that allow us to definitively declare him retarded. Like I said earlier, Leia's association with Obi-Wan should mean that a Star Destroyer should immediately land on the Organa family house. Reva told the Grand Inquisitor that there was a connection between Obi-Wan and Bail in the archives. The Grand Inquisitor has witnessed the result of that connection. Obi-Wan came out of hiding. Yeah, Vader told the Emperor he wasn't going to obsess over Obi-Wan, which is this show's hackneyed way of tying up the loose end. But even with catching Obi-Wan off the table, surely the Grand Inquisitor is smart enough to think, maybe I should go down to the Imperial archives myself and retrace Reva's steps. Not to find Kenobi himself, but maybe to find Bail's connection to him and the rebels? Even without Bail's incriminating message, Reva left the rest of the Imperial characters enough clues to begin a hunt. We know that Darth Vader doesn't learn that Luke is his son until the middle of Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas added this scene in one of the 50 remastered editions.
The young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
How is that possible?
Search your feelings, Lord Vader. You will know it to be true.
But the original also informs him of the news, in a more roundabout way.
We have a new enemy, Luke Skywalker.
Yes, my master.
He could destroy us.
Bail Organa, Yoda, and Obi-Wan plotted at the end of Episode 3 to hide the children away.
Hidden, safe. The children must be kept.
We must take them somewhere where the Sith will not sense their presence.
My wife and I will take the girl. We've always talked of adopting a baby girl.
And what of the boy?
To Tatooine. To his family send him.
I will take the child and watch over him.
Yeah, we've already talked about how the Sith won't sense them explanation is kind of shit, considering the job that Leia is being groomed into. God, I hate that word's been ruined. This is actually how you're supposed to use it, that you groom a person for leadership at a young age. Get your minds out of the gutter, you weirdos. Vader knows he has family on Tatooine. He and Padme visited them in Episode 2, where Owen and Beru have Annie's old protocol droid, C-3PO, which they take with them. And then Uncle Owen buys back the same protocol droid 20 years later without recognizing him. Jeez, maybe Owen always was an idiot.
You know, I think that R2 unit we bought might have been stolen.
Yeah, stolen from me. But they drop off Luke with these people, whom Vader already knows about, and they don't even bother to change his fucking name? Why does he call himself Luke Skywalker? Why wouldn't it be Luke Lars to keep up the charade? You know that it's supposed to be public record that Padme lost her twins when she died, right? That's why she's made to look pregnant during her funeral? Because they were faking this shit? Why did they keep that last name for Luke? Okay, fine, he's Luke Skywalker. Somehow, word didn't get back to the Empire that on the moisture farm where Vader knows he has family, there's a young boy who looks and acts like him named Luke Skywalker. Alright, when the hunt for the Death Star plans in A New Hope brings Vader back to Tatooine, do you think he's ever looking out the window and thinking like,
I wonder how Owen and Beru are doing down there?
And then the search goes forward like we see in the movie. Vader's stormtroopers find the escape pod. They find evidence that there's droids. They follow the droid tracks to Jawa tracks. They catch up with the Jawas, torture them for information on who bought the droids, and then kill them, making it look like it was a Sand People attack. The information leads them to the Lars farm, where they fucking disintegrate Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. How in the hell do you think that conversation went back on the Star Destroyer?
So, how did it go down there?
Well, the droids were sold to a moisture farmer named Owen Lars, but the trail ran cold.
Oh, that's a funny coincidence.
Yeah, don't worry though, we killed him to keep it a secret. The stormtroopers are looking for droids, right? So maybe, after torching the Lars family, the smart thing to do is to ransack the farm looking for the droids, or maybe any other information that might help. Maybe the stormtroopers find evidence that there's actually a third member of the family, like say a teenage boy. Another bedroom, a third bed, a smaller set of clothes, maybe a toy or two that it turns out Obi-Wan gave him. Maybe they find paperwork or evidence that this boy's name is Luke fucking Skywalker. Maybe before Owen and Beru die, they say that the droids aren't here right now. That their son, Luke fucking Skywalker, is taking them to get maintenance in Anchorhead or something. Surely this news gets back to Vader eventually in a mission report or something. You'd think he'd be interested in this mysterious new young relative of his who has gone missing with the plans of the Death Star. You'd think that when the rebels attack the Death Star at the end of the movie, and the Imperials figure out that they use the plans to find a weakness, and then Vader notices the pilot who eventually hits the bullseye.
The Force is strong in this one.
You think he might put 2 and 2 together? TIE fighters can't go faster than light. They're support craft. Vader's got several decades to mull it over on his way home. Okay, put it together, buddy. Who do you think that this young, hotshot rebel pilot could be? It doesn't matter, though, because if the rebellion was smart, they'd double back and pick his lonesome ass off.
You should have killed me when you had the chance, sister. So, you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her, too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me.
And surely you should have put this one together too? Vader, who was it that Reva illegally kidnapped? Did the Grand Inquisitor just not tell you? Did no one look at the records of the holding cell, the interrogation room, whatever? There may be motivation to keep Obi-Wan's involvement a secret, but not to keep Leia's kidnapping. So surely word would have gotten back to Vader eventually. Anakin really is retarded that he didn't figure all this stuff out. You know, I'm starting to think that Star Wars was always stupid. And I guess in that sense, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show fits right in. This is the quintessential cool scene-itis show. It's so formulaic, it feels like it was written by an algorithm. And here's what I mean by that. George Lucas set it up at the end of Revenge of the Sith, such that all the pieces are in place for Episode 4 to begin. Yoda's on Dagobah. Bail adopts Leia. Uncle Owen adopts Luke. C-3PO's memory is wiped to protect Leia's identity. But R2-D2's isn't, making him a colossal asshole who could have told anybody everything at any time, and he just didn't. So an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, taking place between episodes 3 and 4, has to do a few things. Firstly, it can't majorly disrupt the lore. Whatever happens during the show, we have to end up back where we started, with the pieces still in place for episode 4. Which means you have 2 options. Option A, it's a tiny character piece exploring Obi-Wan in his solitude. Option B, anything done that could mess up the lore, if left unresolved, has to be resolved such that the integrity of the story is maintained. Secondly, it can't betray the characterization of the people that the audience cares about. There's a natural midpoint between who these people are in episode 3 and who they become in episode 4, and that can be a very precise target to hit. In other words, it has to respect the story and it has to respect the characters. Does Obi-Wan Kenobi do either of these things? Let's start with the characters. Obi-Wan is pretty much spot on. Uncle Owen's conflict with him is only natural. Leia seems about correct, even though her actress isn't great. Vader? I don't know about this one. People tend to forget how tame Vader was in A New Hope. He was always a Saturday morning cartoon villain.
We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
I think that's why, when fans recreated the Vader-Obi-Wan fight from episode 4, to make it more line up with their physical abilities from episode 3, they also made Vader a lot angrier. Okay, how about the plot then? Well, you just listened to my over an hour-long epic rant on how this one's an obvious no. I don't think I've ever written anything this detailed for my channel in my entire life. This show has almost an infinite number of problems. Firstly, it can't choose what kind of story it wants to be, a tiny character piece or an epic adventure with a big reset button. So it tries to do both, 1A and 1B. The first episode, showing Obi-Wan's depression and the state of his life, that shit is great. I know some fanboys were complaining that they made Obi-Wan a cuck, but I don't care. It was good. It's exactly what you should do if you're making this kind of show. Obi-Wan's lost, he's defeated, and billions of people are now suffering because he failed. He should be a scarred character, and the triumphant hero story of how he gets his mojo back, that is exactly what this narrative needs. This series also answers another question: why Obi-Wan doesn't think that Vader can be redeemed.
There is still good in him.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
I mean, you can kinda imply it from the prequels, but at least here it's spelled out explicitly. Also, they kinda shoehorn in him calling Anakin Darth.
Goodbye, Darth.
Which, I don't know, doesn't really work, but fine. But all the character stuff from 1A suffers from all the rebellion stuff from 1B. And that's all just pure garbage. None of those characters are likable. None of them matter in the long run except Leia, and she necessarily has plot armor the whole show. How many plot holes are there in this story? How many unnecessary arcs? How many unnecessary scenes? How many lines of dialogue that just make no sense?
I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. Look, if you want my help, you got it.
Soon the location of the network and Kenobi will be ours. Kenobi is all that matters.
You're in HYUK now. All signals in or out are blocked.
I let your parents know you're safe.
I know we said no communication, but your silence worries me.
I am what you made me.
I am not your failure,
Obi-Wan.
Whether he dies or I do, this ends today. Goodbye, Darth.
But there's always a teacher, someone who mentors the young hero in what his destiny is. And in this case, it's an old Jedi who has been sitting out in the desert, primarily waiting for this moment to happen.
Your friend, the Jedi.
He served me well during the Clone Wars, and has lived in hiding since the Emperor's Purge. Yes, I will send for him.
One last fight.
He's been sitting out in the desert, primarily waiting for this moment to happen.
Has lived in hiding since the Emperor's Purge.
One last fight.
Also, if you're telling a story and you want the audience to care, the rules have to be at least somewhat consistent. If Darth Vader can extinguish flames with the Force or pull a starship down from takeoff, you can't just have him not be able to do it a second later. There has to be a consistent idea of what the stakes are. If people keep surviving gut stabbings, no matter how many fucking stomachs they have, the audience's reaction to a scene like this isn't, "Oh my god, he's dead." It's, "I wonder if they'll bring him back or not." If anything, the moral lesson of Star Wars is at this point, when you kill somebody, make sure to actually fucking finish the job. The Grand Inquisitor comes back. Darth Maul's come back now. Reva came back twice.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
No one's ever really gone.
There's also just a bunch of small things that bug me about Kenobi too. Yeah, the quality is all over the place like I mentioned at the start of the video. But also, Vader looks weird in this show. I know it's not just Hayden Christensen's scrawny ass in that suit, but still, something's off. They keep showing him in these wide shots far away from everyone else, so no one's making any comparisons about his size. Look at the Reva Force choke scene. Reva is clearly his height, except when he gets closer and then it's like, whoops, he's suddenly 2 feet taller than her. It's not just the visuals though, it's the writing too. Reva's got like 3 scenes setting up her storyline in the first episode. Leia goes running through the woods twice. We've got 3 days at Obi-Wan's dreary job. And it's not just establishing scenes that repeat. How many times did Obi-Wan have private conversations in public? Or how many times did he try to sacrifice himself? Hell, the entirety of episode 4 is just filler. Think about it. The total arc of the show is Leia's kidnapped, Obi-Wan goes to help, he rescues Leia on HYUK, he has to get smuggled by the rebels off-world to some mining planet, I still don't know the name, I still don't care to look it up, where the Empire catches up, and Obi-Wan has to confront Vader, the ghost from his past. Obi-Wan loses that fight, this is the low point of the story. Leia's kidnapped a second time, Obi-Wan rescues her again, they go to the rebel base on Jabim, the Empire lays siege to it, the rebels escape just in time, Obi-Wan has his second showdown and wins. You can cut out the Leia re-kidnap and re-rescue bit from episode 4 entirely, and the story is completely fine. In fact, it's better, because the lore-breaking scene where Leia reveals to agents of the Empire that she knows Obi-Wan is cut out along with that arc. In prep for this video, I think I've watched this show about 4 times now, God rest my soul, and I've really begun to notice just how many times micro arcs repeat, only to pad out the runtime of what should have been a movie. We know that this story was originally supposed to be a movie, Kenobi, The Balance of the Force. Disney sees the writing on the wall when it comes to TV shows and miniseries versus movies, especially after the success of The Mandalorian versus the failure of Solo, a Star Wars story. So they took their script for Kenobi, a Star Wars story, and stretched it out to Kenobi, a 6-episode story. In fact, several people have already recut it into a movie, and as a movie it actually works pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, but if you only use the footage and the plot on hand, you can actually make an okay feature film out of this. It still doesn't hold a candle to the Kenobi fan film though, which basically does the quiet Tatooine character story and does it 10,000 times better. It's all the same beats. Obi-Wan is old and downtrodden. He's losing his connection to the Force. Uncle Owen wants him to go away, and by the end, Obi-Wan gets his mojo back. But it's actually legitimately good. The fans really do understand Star Wars in a way that Disney doesn't. At this point, it's obvious to me just how much of Kenobi is a repeat of something we've seen before. Yeah, they repeat scenes, or they repeat whole arcs even, just to fill the hour. But it's not only that. Pretty much everything noteworthy from this show is taken from something else. This part's from the fan film, this part's from Return of the Jedi, this part's from the video game, this part's from Rogue One. Even the linchpin moment of the show has already been done before, in Rebels, with Ahsoka Tano.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
I know, it's just a TV show. Stop caring, Dev. Why can't you just shut your brain off and let the images enter through your eyes and have a mildly entertaining evening? I understand that point of view, and there is some value in just liking something for the spectacle, even if it is dumb. But that has to be a choice that you, as the viewer, make, not they, as the creator, insist that you choose. Okay, here's a good example. This happened back in 2015, back when the video game Fallout 4 came out. If you don't know anything about Fallout, here's the quick TLDR. Nuclear war happens. Americans take shelter in vaults built by the Vault Tech Corporation. Some of the vaults turn out to be weird social experiments set up to study human behavior. Vault 95 was housed with only drug addicts, and there were no drugs in the vault. Except, 5 years in, a massive stash of drugs would be revealed in a hidden location in the vault. The problem is, one of the logs the player can find is written by a delivery man, where he says that he's delivering a shipment of Jet. Jet is a fictional drug in Fallout. It's a weird cross between meth and jankum, made from the fumes of dung from irradiated cattle. Jet was invented after the bombs dropped, so there was no way that a pre-war delivery man was bringing a shipment to Vault 95. Now this is a problem that's very easy to fix, especially in a video game. You just say, oh sorry guys, my mistake, and then in the next patch just change the text of the log. One and done, right? But that's not what happened. The writer of that quest, Pete Hines, when the inconsistency went viral on Twitter, replied with saying, doesn't say what year that was posted, implying that after the bombs had dropped and Jet had been invented, Vault Tech was somehow still around and still sending out trucks of drugs to Vault 95. When the fan pointed out the obvious flaw in that logic, as well as other consistency problems, Pete Hines gave this response. Not interested in discussing how realistic things are in an alternate universe, post-apocalyptic game with talking mutants and ghouls. And of course, various game and tech-based news outlets backed him up, making fun of fans who dared to complain about lore inconsistencies because of not taking the series seriously enough that features aliens, a talking tree, invincible children, and guns that fire miniature nuclear warheads. And it's like, on some level, yeah, that actually makes sense. It is just a story. It's just a fictional world. So if the new writers working on it make a mistake, on some level, you shouldn't take it too seriously. But the flip side of that is part of not taking it seriously is no longer consuming it. Fallout was created by Interplay, though the games are now made by Bethesda, which is a whole other rabbit hole not worth going down for this video. The point is, Bethesda is not the creator of Fallout. They're only its current owners. The people who work at Bethesda might care to a point, but if push comes to shove, they prioritize their own vision. And stuff like this is ultimately how they view it. Because while if you're a fan of Fallout, it means something to you. That's why you enjoy it. That's why you're the super fan. But to them, it's only a vehicle for their new story. If they can get away with not respecting old lore, not simply just to save face in a Twitter fight, but also because the old lore gets in the way of the new story they want to tell, and they believe that you'll continue consuming the product, what incentive do they have to respect the old lore? And through that lens, we can understand why Pete Hines took it as a personal attack, that fans pointed out there was inconsistencies between his writing and what came before. Now, how many times have you heard a story like this? How many video games, how many TV shows, how many movies has something equivalent to this happened to? People take these things seriously because they love them. When they see inconsistencies, they're worried that the new stewards don't actually care. And when those new stewards respond like this, it's a confirmation that they're really only here to wear the progressive skin suit of the thing that you love, to ignore pre-established storylines and push whatever it is they want to push. So, apply this lens back to Star Wars, and what do you see? When I watched that final scene with Reva crying in the sand, I had a sinking feeling that this whole thing existed simply to set up her spin-off show. They were taking a beloved character, this guy in the title, and using him as the opening act for the story they actually wanted to tell. This is like bait and switch member berries, where you think you're getting the member berries you want, and that's how they drag you in. But it was me, Reva! Jesus, we're this far into the video and I completely forgot to talk about the Qui-Gon scene. I actually forgot about it. It's that forgettable. I'm re-recording this days later. One of the big member berries scenes of Kenobi is in the very end, where Qui-Gon shows up as a Force ghost and basically says, "Get ready for season 2, you fucking nerds." This scene serves no purpose whatsoever, other than to get fanboys to record reaction videos, like how they reacted to Luke at the end of Mando season 2.
Oh my god, it's Luke! What? Holy shit! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god. Did they just like de-age Mark Hamill?
They just CG'd him.
That's CGI Mark Hamill?
Yo! Oh my god!
Oh my god, the music! The music!
Fucking music as well, fuck you, man.
A far better use of Qui-Gon would have been in the scene where Obi-Wan is buried by rocks during the Vader fight. Qui-Gon whispers to him, "It wasn't your fault." And that would have made sense. The whole story is, or should be, about Obi-Wan coming to grips with his guilt. In A Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan didn't want to train Anakin. Qui-Gon did, and Qui-Gon made Obi-Wan promise him to do it. The rock berry scene would have been far superior with Qui-Gon in it than with Obi-Wan fantasizing about kids, but it wouldn't have given us that reactable moment that Disney wanted. Yet again, they sacrificed the soul of the story for what looked cool. The reason people originally liked Star Wars is because, despite the many flaws of these movies, it had something to say about the human condition. It's not really about stormtroopers and Death Stars and X-Wings and lightsabers. Those are the trappings. That's the window dressing. That's what you drape over top of what should be a good, solid story. George Lucas has correctly identified that A New Hope is more of a fantasy film than a sci-fi one.
My original inspiration on this film was really to use mythological motifs to create a whole new kind of myth that was very updated and contemporary. So I used the Saturday matinee serial as my vessel to put this barrel of mythological motifs together. Since it's based on a very kind of old story and not a high-tech story, it's more of a fantasy film than a science fiction film. I was able to use archetypes which helped develop the characters and put them in a context where they could be easily grasped because they are traditional characters. And this is the same story that has been told 1,000 times around the world for several thousand years.
This is a mythic story. It models for us what it means to be a hero in a very generic sense. Luke Skywalker is a child of destiny, given a magic sword by an old wizard, and told to storm a fortress guarded by the Black Knight in order to rescue a princess. The scope and scale of the story, along with 1977 state-of-the-art effects, help cover up the fact that Star Wars is a very basic hero's journey. Meanwhile, The Empire Strikes Back turns us on its head. It's a story about how the hero deals with his own failure, how it's his own heroism that is the source of the failure, and how to come to grips with the terrible truth. Luke's heroic traits are well defined in A New Hope. He's courageous, loyal, and impulsive, all qualities well suited for a young man leaping to the defense of the helpless. But in Empire, these qualities lead him to a confrontation with Vader that he isn't ready for, and he loses badly. Yoda tells him point blank before it even happens.
If you end your training now, if you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
But Luke has to experience it to truly understand the path that he's on. Return of the Jedi is the culmination of this story. Luke's first appearance in the movie, he's acting a little bit more Sith-like than the audience should be comfortable with. But at the same time, he's also more patient. He allows Jabba to make aggressive moves and mistakes while his own plan unfolds. This is what integrating your dark side looks like. By the end of the movie, Luke refuses to kill Vader. In fact, at the end of all 3 movies, Luke gives up control and takes a leap of faith. It's not a foregone conclusion that Vader will rescue him from the Emperor's Force lightning. Luke is doing this knowing full well he might die, but the statement is clear. Luke is not going to become his father, even if it kills him. Yeah, sometimes George Lucas is caught huffing his farts a bit too much.
I said to George, you can type this stuff, but you can't say it. Move your mouth while you're talking, while you're typing it, and I couldn't say it.
But even then, the point I'm making is, when you strip away all the Star Wars stuff here, there's a soul, a moral and ethical through line that cuts right down the center of Luke and his journey. The movies are trying to tell us something about what it means to be a hero, what quality of character a hero has, where that might lead them astray sometimes, and ultimately what somebody might have to sacrifice in order to live a good life. And George Lucas is okay with outright saying, yeah, this is what the movies are all about.
Are you saying I am trying to recreate the myths of old? Or are you saying I just want to make a good action movie?
Well, when I did Star Wars, I consciously set about to recreate myths and the classic mythological motifs, because I think the core issues that I'm dealing with are, if they were valid 2,000 years ago, they've got to still be valid today, even though they're not in fashion.
Why are they out of fashion?
The world we live in is more complex. A lot of those moralities have gotten to be grayed to the point where they don't exist anymore. But those issues are still there in most people's minds. The importance of, say, friendship and loyalty. You know, I mean, most people look at that and say, how corny. But, you know, the issues of friendship and loyalty are very, very important. But it's not common knowledge among young people. You know, they're still learning. They're still picking up ideas. They're still using these ideas to shape the way they're going to conduct their life. And you need to tell the same story over and over again every generation, so that generation gets it. And I think we've gone for a few generations where a lot of the sort of more basic stories have fallen by the wayside.
I hear so many young people today talk about a world that's emptied of heroism, where there are no more noble things to do. What do you say to them?
Everybody has the choice of being a hero or not being a hero every day of their lives. And you can either help somebody, be compassionate toward people, you can treat some people with dignity, or not. And one way you become a hero, and the other way, you know, you're part of the problem. And it's not a grand thing. You know, you don't have to get into a giant laser sword fight and blow up 3 spaceships to become a hero. I mean, it's a very small thing that happens every day of your life.
Though people don't like the prequel trilogy nearly as much, they're still remembered fondly for being the mess that they are. And Lucas is also quite insistent that these films also have something to say, beyond just Star Wars. In fact, Padme even spotlights the message in case you don't get it.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
One of the reasons the prequel trilogy talks so much about politics and economics is because it's showing what a fearless, well-meaning, and patient young hero, somebody very much like Luke in fact, can become if he doesn't take the sacrificial path that Luke did. Take that scene from episode 2 where Padme and Anakin talk politics. Yeah, that one that became a reaction meme for a while.
I don't think the system works.
How would you have it work?
We need a system where the politicians sit down and discuss the problem. Agree what's in the best interest of all the people, and then do it.
That's exactly what we do. The trouble is that people don't always agree.
Well, then they should be made to.
By whom? Who's gonna make them?
I don't know. Someone.
You?
Of course not me.
But someone.
Someone wise.
Sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me.
Well, if it works.
This is actually the monarchist argument against democracy. If democracy really is just a bunch of squabbling, uneducated fools, all having their worthless say while a crisis grows more desperate, why shouldn't a strong individual with the expertise to solve the problem be in charge instead? It's the benevolent dictator, philosopher king argument. Palpatine's populist rhetoric, during his rise to power, if you transplant it to real life, is probably pretty popular with libertarians in how he wants to dismantle components of the state and end corruption and shrink bureaucracy.
There is no civility, only politics. The Senate is full of greedy, squabbling delegates.
There is no interest in the common good.
If I may say so, Your Majesty, the Chancellor has little real power. He is mired by baseless accusations of corruption. The bureaucrats are in charge now. Our best choice would be to push for the election of a stronger Supreme Chancellor, one who could control the bureaucrats and give us justice. Our only other choice would be to submit a plea to the courts.
The courts take even longer to decide things than the Senate.
Your Majesty, if I am elected, I promise to put an end to corruption. I will be, Chancellor.
I fear by the time you have control of the bureaucrats, Senator, there'll be nothing left of our people, our way of life. It is clear to me now that the Republic no longer functions. I pray you will bring sanity and compassion back to the Senate.
But what his supporters don't understand, and what he keenly recognizes, is that all of those multiple levels of bureaucracy are what keeps political power decentralized. That decentralization has led to their current problem, where there's too many interests, nobody can agree on anything, and nothing gets done even in the face of a civil war. But stripping away those bureaucratic layers, however popular a move it might initially be, doesn't destroy the political power vested within them. It simply centralizes that power within the remaining bureaucracy.
The rebellion will continue to gain a support in the Imperial Senate.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away.
That's impossible. How will the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy?
The regional governors now have direct control over their territories.
It may very well be the case that if the people within a state's apparatus are corrupt, you might need to clean house. I'm not against that. But contrary to what libertarians think, shrinking the state doesn't always shrink its power. Sometimes it centralizes that power into a system with a single point of failure. That's why the rebellion's decisive strikes at just the right target are so devastating throughout the series. Because when you weaken a state's bureaucracy, you monopolize the state's power into one autocratic leader. And at that point, all you have to do is kill him. That is the lesson of the prequels. The dangers of seduction, both sexual and political. It's tempting to think that you know all the answers, that you can handle the forbidden fruit. But you don't, and you can't. Of course, the prequels have many problems. Like, a lot of what the Jedi are don't really make sense. For example, why do the Jedi wear these robes? Well, because that's what Obi-Wan wore in the original trilogy. But if Obi-Wan's in hiding, why would he specifically run around in the uniform of a persecuted class of people? Why do all the Jedi act like creepy cult members? Well, because Luke's journey from regular kid to Jedi Knight saw him become serious and somber. But that's only because of what he was going through with his father. That is the limitation of George Lucas's iconic hero's journey style of storytelling, when it butts up against a cultural phenomenon. Whatever becomes emblematic of an idea is what sticks, even if it doesn't really make any sense. But it's this rough around the edges nature of Lucas's Star Wars that lead internet soy boys nowadays to justify the moral bankruptcy of Disney's Star Wars. So if the original story is telling us how to be a sacrificial hero, and the prequel story is telling us what happens if you reject the call, what does the sequel trilogy tell us? As far as I can tell, The Force Awakens exists to tell us that Star Wars is really cool. Everything is a reference or a callback, but they exist not as trappings of a larger story, but as the larger story itself. Where before, the movies would explain a political crisis and the various parties therein, or a personal conflict between characters with a lot of history, now the movie goes out of its way to not explain anything at all. J.J. Abrams said he wanted the Star Wars comedy back. But where before comedy accentuated characterization, here it undercuts it. The characters and the setting are reset back to the way things were in A New Hope, only this time with less explanation. There's an empire and a rebellion with different names. Luke is isolated from everyone. Leia is a political leader fighting the power. Han Solo is a smooth talker, desperately trying to hide the fact that he's a broke bum. All of the growth and change is reversed, so we can do Star Wars again. What does The Last Jedi have to tell us? Well, pretty much the opposite of The Force Awakens. Star Wars is bad. Where in Empire, Luke would never abandon his friends, and in Return of the Jedi, Luke chose not to kill the defenseless. Here we discover that Luke did both of those things in his old age. Everyone talks about the phrase subverting expectations with this movie, and yeah, fair enough. It's like 90% complete dog shit, with so many scenes that add nothing and make no sense, and in fact make other things make less sense. I really don't want to go into just how bad this movie is right now. This video's long enough, but I don't think the phrase subvert expectations is the ethic of this movie. Instead, it can be summed up in these scenes.
It's time to let old things die. Snoke, Skywalker, the Sith, the Jedi, the Rebels, let it all die. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to.
We are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
The idea here is that Star Wars is changing. It doesn't have to be about Skywalkers and Kenobis anymore. It can be about anybody. That's the point of the final shot of the movie. This kid isn't anybody important, and yet he can use the Force. It's a grand moral equalization. The old institutions don't matter. We can make things how we want them to be, and they don't need to be Star Wars. So, what is the rise of Skywalker telling us then? Well, the lesson of The Force Awakens is that we can no longer make anything new. We must remain tethered to what Star Wars was. At the same time, the lesson of The Last Jedi is that we can no longer hold on to anything old. The slate must be wiped clean. Despite how it sounds, these two ideas actually fit together. In a Hegelian sense, if The Force Awakens is the thesis and The Last Jedi is the antithesis, The Rise of Skywalker is the synthesis. It's a movie that is simultaneously tethered to the past while rejecting it. It wipes the slate clean and then uses that space to build a simulacrum of what came before. The ethics of Star Wars at this point are gone, and what remains is only the window dressing. There are X-Wings and lightsabers and stormtroopers and Star Destroyers, but the core has been hollowed out. That's why it rings so hollow when Carrie Fisher says,
"It's about family. And that's what's so powerful about it.
We know they're not. They're about being about family, which is a very different idea. At least Mark Hamill was a lot more honest about them.
I said to Ryan, I said, I think I fundamentally disagree with pretty much everything you've decided for me. Now, having said that, I have to accept it, get my mind around it, and do my best to realize your vision.
I said to Ryan, I said, Jedis don't give up. I mean, even if he had a problem, he would maybe take a year to try and regroup. But if he made a mistake, he would try and right that wrong. So right there, we had a fundamental difference. But it's not my story anymore. It's somebody else's story. And Ryan needed me to be a certain way to make the ending effective. That's the crux of my problem. Luke would never say that. I'm sorry. Well, in this version, see, I'm talking about the George Lucas Star Wars. This is the next generation of Star Wars. So I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker, but I had to do what Ryan wanted me to do because it serves the story well. But listen, I still haven't accepted it completely, but it's only a movie. I hope people like it. I hope they don't get upset.
In other words, the Star Wars sequel trilogy teaches us how you build a progressive skin suit. First, stagnation is celebrated by way of worshipping the aesthetics of the thing. Secondly, revolution is celebrated by way of discrediting all the old ethical achievements of the thing. Finally, these two ideas are married into a creation that is simply mechanical in how it operates. Scenes happen only because they must happen to reach the next scene. Conflicts or revelations or sacrifices occur, not because they further anything, but because this is around the point in time the audience expects to see one. Nothing makes sense, but nothing needs to, because we've deconstructed the idea of cause and effect. Things might be set up and then paid off, like in, an actual movie, but there's no underlying action and reaction. The progressive skin suit is complete. It looks like Star Wars, but deep inside it is in fact anti-Star Wars. You can't even make new films anymore, not without disregarding 7, 8, and 9. Where would you go with the story? Everything's already been ruined by people who didn't care that they were ruining it. Which makes it pretty fucking hilarious that Kathleen Kennedy complained there was no more Star Wars stories to make, considering that Lucasfilm decanonized nearly everything, and then deconstructed the rest. And by the way, it should be no surprise that George Lucas isn't all that happy with how it's going either.
Bob Iger said, gee, if you really want to sell your company, if you're thinking about selling that, because we were talking about retirement and what are you going to do after all this kind of stuff. And he said, well, if you really want to sell it, we're very interested. I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and
Okay, but
I had made a decision to move ahead on the next Star Wars series, and we were starting to do that.
So you were starting to make the next Star Wars?
Yeah.
You as director, filmmaker.
They wanted to do a retro movie. I don't like that. Every movie I worked very hard to make them different. I make them completely different with, different planets, with different spaceships, with different, to make it new. They decided they didn't want to use those stories. They decided they were going to go do their own thing, and so I decided, fine. But basically, I'm not going to try to. They weren't that keen to have me involved anyway. But at the same time, I said, I'm not going to. If I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble, because they're not going to do what I want them to do. So. And I don't have the control to do that anymore, and all I would do is muck everything up.
Now then, let's finally return to the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Remember earlier when I said that the plot feels like it was written by an algorithm? Like they had this idea for the one truly emotional moment where Vader absolves Obi-Wan of his guilt, and then just had a machine write a bunch of stuff that served no purpose other than to get us there and fill the allotted time in the Disney Plus schedule? Now you know why it feels that way.
The way I like to work is you try and come up with visual milestones of like, well, I'd love to see this, and I'd love to see this, and I'd love to see this. I'm not sure how they all connect. And then what you do is you create visuals of things that would be great, and then you try and find a way of linking them all.
And using this mode of analysis, you can go back and rewatch the gradual decline of any property that covered up its failings by claiming to subvert expectations. And you'll probably see the exact same process underneath of how they built the progressive skin suit. We're not re-going over Obi-Wan again using this lens. No thank you can do that on your own fucking time. But I do want to give you one solid example from the show. Everyone is coming their pants over Reva. She's so complex and deep because she didn't kill young Luke, you guys. The truth is, no, she's confused, which only has the appearance of complexity. And in order for us to get to this moment where Reva is broken and has to put herself back together again, the writers have to directly violate her established character. That doesn't matter, only getting to the end result does. Now compare Reva to Luke in The Empire Strikes Back. Luke isn't confused like Reva is. Rather, Luke's heroic traits are the cause of his downfall, and the Force itself is trying to warn him. Luke may enter a self-destructive spiral and hit rock bottom, but at no point does he ever act out of character. His loyalty, his impulsivity, and his bravery, all heroic traits, are what Vader uses to draw him into his trap. That's the difference. The culmination of Luke's arc happens because of who he is. The culmination of Reva's arc happens in spite of who she is. But if you squint your eyes, it kinda looks the same. So this is what Disney is going to be doing going forward. Kenobi, and almost everything else that Disney has done since taking over Lucasfilm, is a Star Wars homunculus. This is the progressive skinsuit, and Disney is hoping that you won't look close enough to notice. Of course, if you complain about any of this, you're a bigot. It's not that you're a die-hard fan who's dismayed at the cultural rot encroaching on the stuff you grew up with. The problem has to be you, not them. Only kinda, though. If the show is pro-progressive and you complain, you're the problem. But if the show does something that progressives don't like, then it's the show's problem. For example, back in May, when the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi dropped to an auditorium full of devoted fans, after the initial screening, the audience took to Twitter to complain about how triggering it was. Remember, the show opens on Order 66, and it just so happens that the Uvalde school shooting went down the same day. And oh boy, the internet had no problem talking about how it was Disney's fault that they didn't see the shooting coming and reschedule their premiere. Trigger warning, had to pause and literally sob. Huge trigger warning. It literally starts off with the attack on Jedi younglings in their temple/school. What the fuck was Disney thinking? Obi-Wan should have had trigger warnings after Uvalde. That nearly made me vomit. The cold open of Obi-Wan is a bunch of Jedi kids getting gunned down by stormtroopers. And it's super fucking triggering, and I literally can't believe they released that right now. Hey Disney, given current events, can we add a content warning to the first episode of Obi-Wan? I'm sick to my stomach just reading about it. These people are fully grown adults who feel like shows targeted at their demographic, adults, are somehow too violent, to the point that they're protesting online. And the violence we're talking about isn't like gratuitous gore or something. It's people getting shot and stabbed with laser weapons. Kids were sneaking in to see R-rated films in the 90s. Now those same kids are soy boy adults crying that PG-13 is too much for them to handle. Part of the progressive skinsuit is rounding the corners, sanding down the bumps, making everything appear epic, but have no actual stakes, because we can't let anybody get emotionally upset. So when a bit of the old lore filters through from the before times,
Before the dark times, before the Empire,
when tragedies actually happened in a narrative, these padded room zoomers can't fucking take it. However, when actual Star Wars fans voice their actual opinions on the actual problems with the Obi-Wan show, doesn't matter which problem, take your pick. I've given you over 9,000 of them at this point. Disney falls back on all reliable. Racism. The Star Wars fandom's racism problem. Moses Ingram, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and ongoing racist toxicity in the Star Wars community. Ingram plays the main villain in the new Star Wars show Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi hunter named Reva. After the series' debut, the actress, who is capital B Black, revealed on Instagram she's been bombarded with hundreds of racist and threatening messages, with one telling her, "Your days are numbered," and another using the N-word. Damn, well, alright. Let's head over to her Instagram and take a look. Jesus, holy hell, girl. What the fuck? Why is that your avatar? Give me a second, guys. Alright, here's her Instagram video. You suck, loser. You're a diversity hire. Operation Get Behind the Darkies is real. Jesus Christ! Ayo, Kenobi, you ain't finna run forever, white boy. You have now been converted into the St. George of Floydium of Star Wars. How the fuck does an alien know Ebonics? Yeah, this is pretty shitty.
There are hundreds of those. Hundreds. And I also see those of you out there who put on a cape for me, and that really does mean the world to me because, there's nothing anybody can do about this. There's nothing anybody can do to stop this hate. And so I question what my purpose is, and even being here in front of you saying that this is happening, I don't really know. But I think the thing that bothers me is that, sort of this feeling that I've had inside of myself, which no one has told me, but this feeling of I just gotta shut up and take it. I just kind of gotta grin and bear it. And I'm not built like that. So I really just wanted to come on, I think, and say thank you to the people who show up for me in the comments and the places that I'm not gonna put myself. And to the rest of y'all weird.
Reva is kind of a garbage character, but Moses Ingram was pretty good in The Queen's Gambit. She's probably a fine person in private. It's not her fault. I've never really liked the idea of attacking an actor or actress just because the character they play is evil, or worse, badly written, or worse, badly acted. Best case scenario on the side of the angry fans. It's not Moses Ingram's fault that Star Wars writers were looking for a diversity hire. That's Disney's fault. She was just taking the job she was offered, like anybody reasonable would. You gotta chase that paper. Personally, I think she did an okay job with what she was given. She was just given garbage. After her video went viral, and when McGregor recorded his own to show his support.
This weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all time. And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together. However, it seems that some of the fan base, from this influential fan base, have decided to attack Moses Ingram online and send her the most horrendous racist DMs. And I heard some of them this morning and it just broke my heart. Moses is a brilliant actor, she's a brilliant woman, and she's absolutely amazing in this series. She brings so much to the series, she brings so much to the franchise. And it just sickened me to my stomach to hear that this had been happening. I just want to say, as the leading actor in the series, as the executive producer on the series, that we stand with Moses. We love Moses.
Again, mostly a completely reasonable response. Anybody who's worked on a set will tell you, the lead actor is like the informal dad of the set family. He's probably feeling protective of Ingram right now. However, where he goes off the rails is at the end.
And if you're sending her bullying messages, you're no Star Wars fan in my mind. There's no place for racism in this world. And I totally stand with Moses.
I'm not simping for the racists here, alright? But, as objectionable as I find them, you absolutely can like Star Wars and be a racist. They're unrelated things. Here's a funny thing though. Moses Ingram's video dropped on May 31st. But on May 22nd, 5 days before parts 1 and 2 of the show were released, Moses Ingram gave this interview with The Independent, where she said, Obi-Wan is going to bring the most diversity I think we've seen in the galaxy before. To me, it's long overdue. If you've got talking droids and aliens, but no people of color, it doesn't make any sense. It's 2022, you know. So we're just at the beginning of that change. But I think to start that change is better than never having started it. Are you butt-fucking kidding me? What about Lando Calrissian, Mace Windu, Jango Fett? Maybe the problem isn't that Star Wars lacks people of color. It's that the new people of color being brought on aren't actually very good at their jobs. Hell, there's new people of color being brought on that are doing pretty good jobs. So maybe the issue isn't race. It's no secret that, for example, Jake Lloyd's life has completely fallen apart since The Phantom Menace, and he lays at least part of the blame at the feet of Star Wars fans who treated him exceptionally poorly when he was a child. And, you know, fair enough. But Lloyd's white. Maybe you can make an argument that some parts of the Star Wars fandom is toxic, but is that problem based on race? Absolutely not. Hell, Billy D. Williams was considered the smoothest dude in the original trilogy. That guy broke out the Colt 45 after every scene.
She's pouring a Colt 45. And we all know what that means. Mind if I join you?
You must have read my mind.
Something like that.
I find the idea that Star Wars fans are just blanket racist really hard to buy. It just doesn't track with reality. Here's some classic Star Wars fans on the eve of the release of The Return of the Jedi.
All I got to say, the Jedi have returned.
We're just fanatics out here waiting on Return of the Jedi. 3 years in the making. We were waiting for this.
Some people don't idolize Darth Vader like I do. See, I want him to get Luke.
And I think that Luke will destroy Darth Vader.
I guess Darth Vader will die. I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't. I love his black.
The biggest surprise was to see all of them together at the end playing pinochle and having a great time. I wished I was there, and I'm going to try to get a part of the next movie myself.
This has left me practically utterly speechless, actually, but it was the best one ever.
The big surprise was seeing Darth Vader unveil himself to his son. It was very exciting.
The biggest surprise? Well, I don't want to give it away to anybody.
Do you think it was worth coming to this late at night? Yeah.
Looks like it's straight out of a KKK meeting, am I right, guys? Ingram also stated, this was something that Lucasfilm actually got in front of, and said, this is a thing that unfortunately likely will happen, but we are here to help you. You can let us know when it happens. Disney is referring to her getting racist DMs and stuff. They knew this was going to happen before it did. So, good faith to Disney, everybody should recognize that some people online are just assholes. That's it. They are gonna say racist shit in the DMs, even if you do an amazing job. But if Disney knows the show is going to be bad, getting ahead of it might entail spinning up a story of racism before any such racism even happens as a defense. Therefore, the guy who's actually in Moses Ingram's DMs being a racist, and the guy who thinks the Obi-Wan show sucks and has real complaints, because Disney got out ahead of the story, they can spin it like those two are linked. The most cynical part of my brain thinks they might have actually planned this. Like, oh, thank God Moses Ingram got sent racist messages. Now we can go to Twitter and activate the woke spin cycle and generate some press for this god-awful show of ours. And you know what? That's exactly what they did. Here's the official Star Wars Twitter account. We are proud to welcome Moses Ingram to the Star Wars family, and we're excited for Reva's story to unfold. If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we have only one thing to say: we resist. There are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. Make it all about the controversy, guys. Don't talk about the show's shoddy writing, or middling quality, or awful new characters. Make it all about racism. 2 black female Star Wars characters, one liked and the other disliked by fans. Almost as if it is less about demographics than quality. This is literally the I have a black friend argument. Being racist does not just refer to donning a white hood and being overtly racist. It also includes things like implicit bias. You can like some black characters and still be a racist. Man, I've never understood this. Why would a black person still be friends with somebody who's a racist? Why would a racist still like black characters and actors? Where's the implicit bias when you think that Reva fucking sucks as a villain? You know, I'm just not willing to take any fucking guff from the company that puts this woke virtue signaling shit out on Twitter, while at the same time actually acting overtly racist and homophobic themselves in the overseas markets. If you're not willing to stand up for your values where and when it matters, when you have something to lose, then they're not values. And I'm not going to be preached at about them by you. I'm certainly not going to get preached at when the same fan backlash shit happened to Mandalorian actress Gina Carano because she was anti-ACAB during the Summer of Love 2020 and she lost her fucking job over it. Remember that shit? Carano did all the things that you don't do as an arm of the Star Wars corpo-progressive subversion machine. Make jokes about masks, talk about her belief in the 2020 election fraud, don't put pronouns in your bio. Oh my god! I think the straw that finally broke the camel's back was when she compared hating people for their political views to the persecution of Jews from the Holocaust. And fair enough, that's pretty fucking spicy, isn't it? But hey, how does that one poem go that leftoids always like to cite? First they came for the socialists. Why isn't this a case of comparing a political affiliation to the persecution of the Jews? This is, in fact, something that people on the left always do. Compare the persecution of leftist activists to other historical horrors. Even though there are just as many historical horrors where leftists come after who they deem to be counter-revolutionary or reactionary or whatever. It's almost like, despite the obvious hyperbole of Carano's claims, the ultimate issue is that only one political camp is allowed the privilege associated with being a victim. But you know what? Not only did they have no problem at all with Gina Carano before she posted any of this spicy stuff, they actually claimed the sexist, racist, toxic fan base that was Star Wars was triggered when she first joined up with the franchise. Really? The same people who you now claim are her most ardent alt-right supporters or whatever the fuck? There is nothing these people wouldn't say, no lie they wouldn't tell to further their agenda. Hey, by the way, that alt-right thing? It turns out that most of the complaints about The Last Jedi came from the same Twitter accounts that were considered Russian bots and plants during the 2016 election, making them all part of the alt-right. Or maybe average people are just fed up with your shit, Disney. You're alt-right if you hate Star Wars. It's the fans' fault that Star Wars sucks. The Force is female. Anakin Skywalker fell because of toxic masculinity. Watch the all-female Star Wars or you're a bigot. If you negatively review Star Wars, you're a bigot. Accept Obi-Wan as LGBT or you're a bigot. I swear to fucking God. Consume product to defeat my cultural enemies, regardless of its quality or my personal enjoyment of it, is the greatest marketing gimmick ever conceived. And now they want to do the same thing they did to Gina Carano to Rosario Dawson, the actress playing Ahsoka Tano, despite her being quite left-leaning. Because at one point, a trans man filed a lawsuit against her for discrimination, verbal abuse, physical assault, and misgendering. I guess that's illegal in California. Even though the lawsuit was dropped because there was just nothing fucking to it, people still want her out of the Ahsoka show. These people are so deep down the rabbit hole that even being innocent of the crime that you're accused of is not enough for them. Some people are saying that Obi-Wan was purposely brought low in order to pump Reva up, and that might be the case. But that doesn't bother me the way that it does a lot of other fans. I don't mind a story where an old hero is taken down a peg or two and has to, get his mojo back. but it has to be justified. And in the Obi-Wan show, one of the only things going for it is that Obi-Wan's descent is actually pretty justified. He's lost everything here, and it's all his fault. Compare that to The Last Jedi, where with Luke they explicitly avoid fleshing out the justification. Compare it to Star Trek Discovery, where the beloved character of Spock plays second fiddle to his secret, until now unknown stepsister Michael Burnham. There are many cases where this criticism makes sense. That in order to privilege the new characters and stories they want to tell, they just shit all over the established characters. But that doesn't work here. Obi-Wan's downfall is actually believable. I just wish that it was in the service of somebody better than Reva. The Star Wars Twitter account is always doing shit like this. For example, for Pride Month this year, they released this comic starring 2 gay chicks as bounty hunters. Now listen, you know I have no problem with lesbians, that's some pretty good shit. But I also have no problem with casual incidental homosexuality. Like recently, everyone was losing their mind over the lesbian couple in the Buzz Lightyear movie, and it's like, who cares? They're just chilling, it's whatever. I'm even fine with a story about homosexuality specifically, where it's not just incidental gayness, but where gayness actually drives the plot. One of my favorite anime of all time, the 1997 masterpiece Revolutionary Girl Utena, is a show specifically about lesbianism and gender bending. It is impossible to do this show's plot without the gay and queer aspects of it. It is built from the foundation up to be that type of show, and it's done very well. But that's the point. Utena is designed to be that story, but Star Wars isn't. There's nothing in the fabric of the Star Wars universe that demands queerness. Meanwhile, this comic also isn't the incidental gayness of Lightyear either. This is not a Star Wars story with Star Wars characters that just so happen to be gay. This is a gay story wearing the Star Wars progressive skin suit. So, of course, somebody replies with, "Don't make Star Wars political." Oh, you poor brave soul. F's in the chat. The Star Wars official Twitter account replied with, "Queer characters existing isn't political, and Star Wars is literally in our name." You know, for a political faction that talks about responsible platforming, use of social media, punching down, a faction that I'm sure the Disney intern running the Star Wars account is a part of, you'd think they'd know not to sick their huge following on a smaller private account. Though, I'm sure they actually knew exactly what would happen. Look at the fucking rage of all these replies. Here's another one, calling all members of the Resistance. Billy Lourd and Kelly Marie Tran are taking the stage now. Respectfully, nobody likes either of them. Respectfully, L plus ratio. Jeez. Maybe the Disney intern is actually Keffels. And the exact same thing happened to this poor bastard too. Get his ass, get his ass, get their ass. I guess this one's inclusive. Get his ass, get his ass. Yeah, let's go, get their ass. It's often said by leftoids screeching about rightoid YouTubers, or even apolitical YouTubers, that people in positions of influence online have a moral obligation to tilt their audiences towards good behavior, and that the harassment that pours out of right-wing communities reflects on both the politics and the individuals within those communities. If we accept this logic, what does it say about progressive communities, that individuals within them have no problem being grotesquely racist towards black people who aren't progressive? You know, at this point, if you're anti-BLM or something, you're a member of the actual resistance. These people are a fucking monolith. The most important type of reply out of this officially sanctioned Star Wars dogpile, though, are the people who were claiming that Star Wars is actually political. And yes, the leftoid answer is the everything is political position, stemming out of Antonio Gramsci's theory of cultural hegemony, describing how before the working class can revolt against the bourgeoisie, first they must be indoctrinated within an alternate culture that is pro-revolution. The crafting of that culture requires the subversion of mass media to deconstruct morality and heroism for the masses, and within that resulting cultural vacuum, push pro-socialist propaganda. If you want to know why so many new properties are garbage that promote communism and progressivism, while so many reinventions of old properties are simply lessons in how to subvert them, this is why. Gramsci's time will come on this channel eventually, but for our purposes here, Star Wars is political because when George Lucas chose to base his stories on the specific hero myths and morals that he did, to a reader of Gramsci, that choice was not a neutral one. It did not exist within a political or cultural vacuum. Rather, it led new generations of people to idolize specific types of heroes, and as those children became politically active adults, the particular cultural morality they grew up with informed their politics.
One of the themes of the movie is high technology and romance. The romantic human, one of the human qualities is that romantic quality, that quality of honor and justice and everything that we equate as human in the way we focus and conduct our lives. In this particular case, I was looking for a symbol of sort of a more humane, honorable way of being a warrior, as opposed to, you know, the mechanical, heartless, machine-like approach to killing and battle and war. One of the main influences here was the samurai ethic and King Arthur and the King Arthur ethic, where you have a very strong set of ethical rules that you live by. The lightsaber became the symbol of that humane way of conducting your life.
In this way, Star Wars is political, because the progs view it as a vehicle to influence political change in the next generation. It's not valued by them for the artistry of the thing, but only for its real-world impact. In other words, it's the progressive skinsuit. Probably the greatest bulwark against the Gramsciite cultural subversives is literally voting with your wallet. A piece of media that lacks a soul and only exists to enact political or cultural change is generally not of high quality. This is the source of the get woke, go broke phenomenon. But it was identified by George Lucas as an issue long before that phrase became popular.
When Star Wars came out, everybody said, oh, it's a silly movie, it's just a bunch of space battles and stuff. It's not real. There's nothing behind it. And I said, well, there is stuff behind it. It's not just a space battle. There's more to it than that. It's much, much more complicated than that. So the spaceships and that part of the science, fantasy, whatever, got terribly abused. And of course, everybody went out and made spaceship movies. And they were all horrible, and they all lost tons of money. And you say, well, you know, there's more to it than that. You can't just go out and do spaceships.
Earlier, when I alluded to just how many properties beyond Star Wars have been turned into subversive vehicles, you should be able to notice intuitively that they all went through this process: the stripping of initial meaning, co-opting of the aesthetic, and the replacement of the core with politics. And the fans almost always react negatively, which is why the new creators attack their fans as a last-ditch effort to try and get them in line, which only exacerbates the problem. But with something as big as popular as Star Wars, where legitimately bad movies still turn a profit, the get woke, go broke effect takes some time to build up. Unlike with, for example, American comics, which are getting absolutely dominated by Japanese manga right now, to the point that the industry is collapsing because nobody's reading them anymore. Star Wars started with enough of a head start that it's going to take more than your average failure to kill off the franchise. But we've still seen those preliminary symptoms rear their heads. Nobody's buying the Rose Tico action figure or whatever else, because nobody likes these characters. The days of this stuff being collectible are over.
Just a few more strokes, and all of the Boba Fett action figures on E-Cell will be mine.
Auction closed.
Hello, success!
But there's also a more basic truth here. Star Wars is obviously political, and it always was, long before the progs sunk their hooks into it. The Star Wars story is about civil war, rebellion against the state, religious persecution, persecution of people with immutable traits, economics and the effects of taxation, how populism and dismantling bureaucracy can lead to a totalitarian nightmare state, how good people are convinced to endorse such a state, and how a crisis can be used to seize political power under the guise of temporary emergency measures. There is this tendency, exemplified by the "you made it political" quartering meme, to view what is culturally normal as apolitical, and what is abnormal as political. And some people really take this to the extreme. You know, I'm not sure if your average black guy just existing as a political statement, my man. This is also a Gramscian idea that the dominant culture isn't actually neutral. It's simply been normalized, and that a socialist-centered culture, once it's normalized, would also appear to be neutral to those living within it. And you know, that's probably true. The left's point of view is, when someone says, "you made it political," what they're actually saying is, "you made it a type of politics that I don't like." And you know what? They're correct. This is absolutely the case. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you live in a liberal culture and you value liberalism, and you see a story like, say, Star Wars, about a rebellion striving for liberty against an oppressive totalitarian empire, that is a liberal story. On the surface level, it will appear to be apolitical. A quick examination, though, will reveal it to be absolutely political. The true complaint here is the subversion of liberal politics, is turning Star Wars into an anti-liberal story. And you know what? That's a legitimate complaint, at least to me. I have no allegiance to the anti-liberal point of view, but I do object to them taking liberal-aligned media and subverting it, even though, when they do, their ethics almost always collapse in on themselves. Here, let me give you an example. One of the best moments in the Obi-Wan show, arguably, was Freck. It's pretty clear that Freck's a good guy. He likes the stability that the Empire's institutions bring to his life. His banter with the stormtroopers serves to humanize them both. Despite the Empire being that totalitarian nightmare state, your average person is just doing their job in a system they can't control, and they're just trying to get on with their lives and do what they think is the right thing. To them, the Empire represents security, order, law, trade, jobs, and a bulwark against the religious zealotry of the Jedi. This dude on Twitter almost gets it. This moment was the most real and scary Star Wars has been in a long time. Yeah, that's the point. Obi-Wan is a wanted man undercover. The symbol of the Empire should serve to frighten him. But the next part of the scene, where Freck and the stormtroopers are humanized, shows us the point. In a different world, these guys would be friends. But then they blow it. That's like having a "Let's Go Brandon" or a "Don't Tread on Me" bumper sticker on a pickup. I mean, just surface level here. Despite some of the problems with libertarianism, the libertarian creed of "Don't Tread on Me" is still the exact opposite of the Empire's ethics. But there's a bigger issue here. These people are explicitly ignoring the point of the scene, which is humanizing Obi-Wan's enemies before he has to kill them, because they don't accept the idea that their own political opponents should ever be humanized. I know we're digging back into history now, but remember when Ben Shapiro hosted Mean Review on PewDiePie's channel? or Donald Trump went on Jimmy Kimmel's show, progressives were screaming bloody murder that these right-leaning people were being humanized, as if they were not already humans. The Prog's rejection of the humanizing moment of this scene shows that they don't actually understand the larger Star Wars conflict. In their evaluation, there's no moral content here, only the symbols of good and evil. If Freck was flying a Pride Month variant of the Empire flag off the truck, and the narrator called the rebellion transphobes or something, while Darth Vader was going around choking out right-wingers, these idiots would do a complete 180 on this shit. They don't want a society free of totalitarianism. They want their ideology to be the one enforced by the totalitarian government. In fact, okay, Star Wars is political. I'm on board. What kind of political is Star Wars? That question is best answered by going back to the source. This line in A New Hope always bothered me.
It just isn't fair. Oh, Biggs is right. I'm never gonna get out of here.
So, most people know that the Biggs that Luke is referencing is this guy who gets blown up during the attack on the Death Star. In the original release of the movie, he appears to be just another rebel pilot. But in the 1997 special edition, George Lucas added back in a deleted scene showing Luke and Biggs reuniting before the battle, where they appear to be old friends who haven't seen each other in a while.
Hey, Luke! Biggs! I don't believe it! Hey, how are you? Great. How'd you get here? Hey, you coming up with us?
I'll be right up there with you, and have I got stories to tell you?
You sure you can handle this shit?
Sir, Luke is the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim territories.
You'll do all right.
Thank you, sir. I'll try.
I gotta get aboard. We'll hear all your stories when we get back, all right?
Right. Hey, Biggs. I told you I'd make it someday.
It'll be like old times, Luke. They'll never stop us.
Now, the 1997 release was the one that I saw when I was a kid, but even back then, it felt like there was some missing setup for Biggs. And there was. There's a long deleted scene that takes place at Tosche Station, where Luke and his group of friends, including Biggs, use binoculars to watch the fight between the Star Destroyer and the Counselor ship at the beginning of the movie. Afterward, Luke has a pretty interesting conversation with Biggs about the trajectory of both of their lives.
I was so close I thought I was going to fry my instruments. As it was, I busted up the Skyhopper pretty bad. And Uncle Owen, furious. He wound up grounding me for the rest of the season. You should have been there. It was fantastic.
You gotta take it a little easy, Luke. You may be the hottest bush pilot this side of Mos Eisley, but those little Skyhoppers are dangerous. Keep it up. One day, whammo, you're gonna end up a dark spot on the downside of a canyon wall.
Look who's talking. You've been hanging around the Starfleet so long, you've been sounding like my uncle. You know, you're getting a little soft in the city.
I've missed you, kid.
Yeah, well, things haven't been the same without you, Biggs. It's been so quiet.
Luke? I didn't come back just to say goodbye. I shouldn't tell you this, but you're the only one I can trust. See, I may never come back, and I just want someone to know.
What are you talking about?
I made some friends at the Academy. When our frigate leaves for one of the central systems, we're gonna jump ship and join the Alliance.
The rebellion?
Quiet down. You got a mouth bigger than a meteor.
I'm quiet. Listen how quiet I am. You can barely hear me.
My friend has a friend on Bestine who might help us make contact.
You're crazy. You could wander around forever trying to find them.
I know it's a long shot, but if I don't find them, I'll do what I can on my own. It's what we always talked about, Luke. I'm not going to wait around for the Empire to draft me into service. The rebellion is spreading, and I want to be on the side I believe in.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm stuck here.
You'll get your chance to get off this rock. You're going to the Academy next term, aren't you?
Not likely. I had to cancel my application.
What for?
My uncle needs me.
Oh.
No, I'm serious. The Sand people have been getting really crazy. They've even raided the outskirts of Anchor.
Come on, Luke. Your uncle could hold off a whole colony of Sand people with one blaster.
I know. But we've got almost enough evaporators to make the place pay off. I have to stay one more season. I can't leave him now.
What good's all your uncle's work if the Empire takes it over? You know they've already started to nationalize commerce in the central systems? It won't be long before your uncle's just a tenant, slaving for the greater glory of the Empire.
No, that's not gonna happen here. You said yourself the Empire won't even mess with this old rock.
Things can change.
I wish I was going. Are you gonna be around long?
No. Leaving in the morning.
I guess I won't see you.
Maybe someday. I'll keep a lookout.
Yeah. I'll be at the Academy next season, and then who knows? I won't be drafted into the Imperial Starfleet, that's for sure. Well, take it easy, buddy. You'll always be the best friend I've ever had.
So long, Luke.
Alright, weird ass pat aside, there's two notable things about this scene. First is that to understand Biggs' role in Luke's life, you kinda need this scene. Luke's later frustration at Biggs' words now makes a lot more sense. Luke's reunion with him at the end of the movie actually carries some weight, and Biggs' death actually means something. I'm guessing these scenes were left out because George Lucas wanted to tightly follow R2-D2 and C-3PO until they joined up with Luke and Obi-Wan.
The first cut of the film had the intercuts of Luke on the planet with what was going on in space. But it just wasn't the movie I wanted to make. I mean, I wanted to make it about this kind of odd couple and tell the story from their point of view.
But man, working them in somehow would have improved the movie quite a bit. But secondly, there's also the political component of Biggs' speech. Biggs states that the Empire has been nationalizing businesses, and that the former owners of those businesses become tenants of the Empire. His dialogue crafts a link between the idea of nationalization and the idea of landlordship, where being a renter is the same as being a government employee, and the thing that links them is the lack of personal ownership. Biggs also makes it sound like it's at least somewhat common for young people to join the Imperial Academy to get training, and then defect to the rebellion when they get a chance. Now, the Empire is obviously supposed to be a stand-in for Nazi Germany. The historical stormtroopers, from which the Imperial stormtroopers get their name, were the Brown Shirts, the Nazi Party's paramilitary wing in its early years. Demographically, the Brown Shirts were overwhelmingly young, working-class, communist-aligned men who believed that National Socialism could be an alternate path forward for the socialist movement instead of the Communist International. Nowadays, the idea that fascism is capitalism in decay is one that the left clings to, despite it being resoundingly false. A fascist totalitarian government rolling in, pointing guns at you, and telling you that you work for them now, that's not capitalism. In fact, that's the opposite of it. But back in 1977, when A New Hope came out, World War II wasn't so old, and academia hadn't yet been completely subverted, such that multiple generations of people no longer understood how politics worked. People back then knew that fascism was socialism in decay, even if they didn't use that language to say it. And this knowledge was reflected in the political undertones of the pop culture of the time. Here, let me use another example. I don't commonly get into Archie comics on this channel. He's not so popular now, but he was a pretty big deal in the early post-war period. There's a story that was printed first in 1972 called Mark My Words, where Archie has a brand new set of markers that are stolen from him, and then graffiti is drawn all over the school with the markers. This was back in '72, remember? Markers were invented in 1953. Getting a hold of them was easy enough, but they were considered specialized tools, not something that everyone would have just lying around their house like today. So, Principal Weatherby naturally blames Archie for the graffiti, and then in response, the other students casually declare Weatherby a fascist. They then say that the downtrodden rising up would require the student body to make more and worse graffiti. Archie stops them and says that even if he didn't do it, suspecting him isn't unreasonable given the evidence, and if they really wanted to help fix the situation, they should help him clean the mess. And it's this show of virtue that convinces the principal that Archie is actually innocent. Now, I'm not here telling you to get your serious political analysis from Archie comics, nor am I saying that this comic presents the true fascism or whatever. What I am saying is, when I first read this comic, I was surprised at the use of the term. In today's pop media, it's so often the case that if fascism is brought up, it's done to point fingers at the right, even the libertarian right. But here, that's clearly not the context. Here, it's done to point fingers at legitimate authority that has made a mistake. And their prescription for fixing the situation is to actually do the thing they were mistaken for doing. The ethic this story is exemplifying for the reader is that even in the face of injustice, the best thing you can do is act virtuous. The people who wrongly call Weatherby a fascist aren't rewarded for doing so. They're vilified for exacerbating the situation. In a more general sense, there was a broad understanding by people of this era that socialism and fascism were feuding brothers, and that each of their reactions to the other made society worse, while it was liberal democracy standing apart from the two, from a totally different political school of thought that truly had an alternative, more constructive path forward. And this can also be seen in the political science writing of this era as well. Before the Soviets had begun infiltrating Western universities with their active measures program, you had papers like, for example, A Premature Fascist, Sorel and Mussolini by James Meisel, which documents the clear ideological progression from the socialism of French syndicalist Georges Sorel to the neo-socialism and later fascism of Benito Mussolini. With this knowledge, let's return to the cut scenes from Star Wars: A New Hope. Biggs' assertion that nationalization leads to everyone becoming tenants, where nobody truly owns their own means of production in an exclusive individualistic manner, and the collective dictates to the individual what is the greater good for the people. That principle is the handshake between socialism and fascism. Meanwhile, in the Wild West environment that is Tatooine, with all of its many problems, there's still ultimately more freedom there than within the Empire. The small landowners and businessmen who exclusively own property, they're less well off materially than the citizens of the core worlds, but they're free, at least for now. and they want to keep it that way. The rebellion is a liberal, individualistic uprising against a socialist system in decay, and George Lucas wrote that story within the context of a larger cultural backdrop that still understood the natural progression between a socialist revolution and a fascist state. Now, maybe you might say that deleted scenes don't count. They don't really represent what Star Wars is all about because they were, deleted. And so, not only their plot points, but their underlying morals should be disregarded. The problem is, Biggs' speech slots in quite well to what we know about the Empire's economy, as told on screen in The Empire Strikes Back.
So you see, since we're a small operation, we don't fall into the jurisdiction of the Empire.
So you're part of the mining guild then?
No, not actually. Our operation is small enough not to be noticed.
Fascist political theory describes what they called a corporative economy, where guild-like bodies, called corporations, would bring together the managers of government-led business and representatives from nationalized unions to determine how best to implement state policy. In this scene, Lando is expressing gratitude that his business is small enough not to be nationalized in the way that Biggs described, under the jurisdiction of the Mining Guild. And later in the movie, the Empire does actually roll in and take over the business, because Han and Leia's presence shines a spotlight on them. Just like how, in reality, fascists would march into businesses, point guns at them, and tell them that they work for the state now. Again, this is not capitalism in decay. It is in fact state socialism. That idea is disproven on the very first page of the book Hitler's Beneficiaries by German historian Götz Ali. Ali describes the efforts of Stuart Elliott Eisenstadt, an American who has spent much of his life negotiating reparations for victims of the Holocaust. In fact, he's been the federal government special advisor on Holocaust issues under Obama, Trump, and Biden. Part of Eisenstadt's work involved securing compensation from private German businesses that profited off of Nazi slave labor. And Ali immediately agrees that Eisenstadt was fully in the right to pursue damages. But despite this, Eisenstadt's highly public negotiations with these companies, widely publicized in the media in the 1990s and early 2000s, led to a distorted view of just how complicit German captains of industry were in the horrors of the Nazi regime. The Nazis had no problem pointing their guns and making demands of private owners of business if it meant getting what they want, a fact that first came out during the Nuremberg trials. And while German industry is responsible for what it did, it's also important to recognize how little of a choice the individuals involved had. But that nuance doesn't work very well as a headline, and even back then, headlines are all that people read. But none of this context would be alien to Star Wars viewers of the 1970s or 80s, who didn't exist within a wider culture of leftist academics successfully subverting the knowledge of what fascism actually is, and replacing it with that false notion that fascism is capitalism in decay. So, the idea that fascism is capitalism in decay was ultimately spread by neo-Marxist academics, following the cultural theory of Antonio Gramsci, who successfully dismantled our previous cultural understanding of the links between socialism and fascism as a part of a multi-decade project of Soviet subversion. They then replaced that previous knowledge with a new theory that corporations are themselves fascist, relying on the modern definition of the word corporation and ignoring the very different definition from the 1920s, when Mussolini was actually writing about the corporative state as part of fascist political theory, and then backed up their new construction by misinterpreting Eisenstadt's good work. Now then, because Star Wars is political, we can go back to the original movies, where the broad cultural understanding of the true nature of socialism is still intact, and see that understanding shine through in the narrative. Afterward, we can go to the newest movies, witness the end result of progressive subversion, and notice how all the ethics, all the morals, all the heroism has been entirely flipped on its head, and how that roughly corresponds with the loss of broader political knowledge regarding socialism's true nature. But if a progressive were to hear that analysis about how Star Wars is political, I would be labeled a racist, bigoted, bootlicking chud who is too stupid to understand politics, and I'm taking Star Wars too seriously, and
don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Yeah, that. The honest truth is, everything can be political. The progs are right about that. But it's an active choice to politicize something. All of these political interpretations of Star Wars, they're all valid, but you can also just shut your brain off and watch the movie if you like. And that's just as valid a choice, because its purpose is entertainment, not cultural change, no matter what a Gramsciite might tell you. Let's say, for example, there was a Star Wars club at your university or something. I don't know what you kids do nowadays. And let's say that there was a club rule to keep politics at the door. And let's say some whining prog said this rule was unfair because Star Wars is political. The correct response is to say, maybe so, but this space isn't. Political neutrality cannot simply be assumed anymore. There's too many subversives in the West right now. It has to be actively enforced as a moral good in its own right. And the reason it is a good is because a neutral space is the only place where ideas can truly be explored, where new things can truly be invented. In a world where every space is a socialist space, it wouldn't be possible to explore ideas beyond socialism, which is, by the way, the point of what they're doing. Building the cultural hegemony that I've been talking about for the past half hour. If you want to know what that process looks like, all you have to do is look around. The subversion of Star Wars, the loss of old political knowledge for the sake of the left's expediency, that's only one symptom among many. The bland, gray, lifeless, algorithmic sludge that we're all told to consume is the product of that cultural hegemony, where because everyone's views are enshrined, no prescriptions can be made, nobody can get offended, and there is only a facsimile of emotional impact. With this understanding, let's look at the wider culture. Here's an advertisement from a theater back in the day. Compare that to this schedule from an AMC in Times Square, showing 70 different screenings of Doctor Strange. The Contemporary Music Super Study has shown that overall, the #1 song since 2017 has been Ed Sheeran's Shape of You, every single year for the past 5 years. And man, maybe it's just me, but that song is generic as fuck. UMG, Warner, and Sony control the content on Spotify. Every alt, counterculture, rebellious song about smashing the system or raging against the machine is now owned by a hedge fund. The consolidation of news media is continuing at a breakneck pace. The biggest upcoming films are simply rehashes of big films from the past, and elite awards for creativity are dominated by these rehashes. In online streaming, niche options are gradually pruned away, and suggestions push people towards the mainstream, both for corporate platforms like Netflix and user-generated platforms like YouTube. In book publishing, 5 companies control the market. In all creative industries, the banal word of content is used to describe every single type of creative work, with the implication that artistry is generic and interchangeable. It's no longer books and movies and TV shows and video games and YouTube videos. It's all just content, something for you to consume. Leftoids may look at this wider state of cultural affairs and claim this is the natural end stage of capitalism, monopolies consolidating and corporate power pursuing profit to the point of destroying the market. And fair enough, that's probably part of it, but the issue is, this is the left's capitalism. The thematic elements of all of this content, as I have gone to great pains to show in this video, is radically pro-left, pro-progressive, anti-capitalist, anti-cop, pro-revolution. Academia is also radically pro-left, and out of that environment comes cultural studies, where the well-educated, left-leaning ivory tower elitist is given the job of properly interpreting culture so that the masses may consume it in the correct, progressive-approved way, in much the same way that back in the day, only priests knew Latin and could read the Bible, while commoners simply had to listen to them. Despite the claim that the left's ethics is centered on supporting the working class against the bourgeoisie, the left's elitism shows that they desire to be the bourgeoisie that indoctrinates the working class in the correct way of doing politics. The left's cultural victory, as well as their continued insistence that they are still the counterculture, has created a very strange monoculture, where there is no real alt culture, where action and reaction have been synthesized into one amalgamation, where the cultural hegemony has expanded across everything and become a totalizing ideology. The creative world feels bankrupt. There's a sense of sameness in everything. Nobody can be offended, so nothing can be interesting. And this perpetual limitation is rewarded. While some alternative voices might exist, they never truly break through anymore. Their cultural impact is zero. We now exist under an overarching totalitarian cultural hegemony that actively pushes progressive politics into every possible space, because neutral ground is viewed as simply another opportunity to create the next generation of young revolutionaries. It is for this reason that progs treat centrists or politically disengaged people the same way they treat those who actively hold different politics than they do. And Star Wars, having been stripped of all of its meaning, now only exists as a tool of this process. You know, I think this might be the end of Star Wars for me. Now that I'm finally done this video, there's been like over 4 hours of recorded content for this video. I know it'll be trimmed down in post, but I've been here a while. But now that I'm done, I think I've said everything that I want to say about Star Wars. It feels like this is my goodbye. I really liked the original trilogy as a kid, and I was young enough to not be able to see the glaring flaws of the prequels. It was just fun to be along for the ride, you know? I didn't understand that Star Wars was, at its heart, a morality play, but that's okay. We absorb ethics, even if we don't recognize them, and that's what subversives are hoping for. I was hopeful, yet worried with The Force Awakens. I was perplexed and disgusted with The Last Jedi, and I was resigned with The Rise of Skywalker. The first season of The Mandalorian was legitimately good, but then Disney desperately hitched like 10 fucking properties to the second season and ruined it. And at this point, with Kenobi, my grieving process is over. The soul of Star Wars is gone, replaced by an algorithm. I'll probably still watch some stuff, if only to make fun of it with my friends. I'll pirate it, of course. But Star Wars is no longer the once-in-a-generation cultural phenomenon that it once was. At least not to me. and it's because of what Disney has done to it. They've stripped out what made Star Wars, and replaced it with progressive activism. And I'm just not here for that. I'm getting older. My time on this planet is running out. All of ours is. And I just don't want to waste my limited attention caring about a thing that they clearly don't care about themselves. Thanks for watching all the way through, everyone. I really appreciate it. This is probably the most in-depth project I've ever done on this channel, and I'm quite proud of it. Thanks very much to Dave, who did a lot of the sound editing in this project, as well as Mahler and It's a Gundam for the origins of a few choice clips. I have to be honest, this one took a lot out of me. If you look at my channel's release schedule, you should probably notice that I put out a video or I did a stream or something for every day in July. I committed myself to once a day on SFO for a month, and I did it. Even if a couple of videos were jokey ones, like my editor's a communist or whatever. There was still one piece of SFO content every day. But even while I was doing that, I was still spending like an hour a day working on the Kenobi review. As the end of July approached, I only had like half the script written. And I realized if I didn't knuckle down and devote some real time to this video, it was just never going to come out, at least not in any timely way. So you should also notice that my release schedule in August has been absolutely nothing at all. Tubcasts and weekly sips came out, but beyond that, I've been pretty much radio silence. On Discord, on Twitter, everywhere. I've done almost nothing but work on Kenobi this whole time. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. For nearly 2 weeks now. We're talking like 12 to 16 hour days. And as I worked, I realized this had to be about Star Wars, not just Kenobi. I couldn't say what I wanted to say using only Kenobi. It had to be broader than that, which is why the video opens up in the second half. It was actually pretty grueling doing something this big, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I'm going to attempt anything quite so in-depth again, not without a sponsor for the video, or I have the money to hire support staff or something. I enjoy doing it, I don't regret doing it, but I do feel like it's taken a little bit out of me. Also, I highly doubt that Disney's going to let me keep a cent of this. So if you want to support the channel, please consider my Patreon, subscribe star, my Twitch sub button, or the YouTube membership button. Every little bit helps, and I greatly appreciate the support. I'm going to take a short SFO vacation now that this is out. I will return to the daily video grind on Monday, but I think I'm just going to relax with some video streams for the next few days. And yeah, I'll do the Minecraft server too now that I'm finally free from the editing dungeon. But yes, this was the fabled Kenobi review. I hope you enjoyed it, because if you didn't, I just tortured myself for weeks over nothing. I'll see you guys next time. I love you.